955 Recruitment, and I would like to remind everybody that the 2 extra chapters you receive every week are the courtesy of Black Jesus 1999. It's for the castle gift he gave a while ago. I promised extra chapters and am delivering. Don't say I did not keep my word and slander me online. Why are you recruiting me and why am I the 13th emperor? If I remember correctly, you should be the 10th? Wang Wei raised his hand to condense a talisman with a bunch of information. Although he could directly input them into her mind, he still showed her respect, not only because of their former friendship but because of her accomplishments. Dong Lifan took the talisman and used her divine sense to review everything. 9 Emperor Curse, Immeasurable Emperor, Heavenly Court, 12 Emperor Curse, Balance Mechanism. As she muttered these key terms, she began to look at Wang Wei with a little bit more awe. Previously she only thought he was a powerful eternal emperor but did not care much. With her current strength, she had absolute confidence to prove the Tao and also become an eternal. But now, she understood that her old friend's achievements were even more legendary than hers. I guess I should not be surprised since it's coming from you. She was no longer than the ignorant little girl they met. Over the years, she has traveled far and wide and knew how unique many of Wang Wei's ideas and thoughts were. So, she's not that surprised that someone like that would create miracles and wonders during his cultivation journey. Dong Lifan took a moment to think about the entire situation. I owe you and the Tao opening sect a great karma for saving my life and taking care of my master. Although she had not seen her master in nearly 1,000,000 years, she still remembered her, and Dong Lifan considered her one of the few people close to her heart. As the saying goes, a master-disciple relationship is as strong as any daughter and mother. However, it's not enough to just join you. So what can you offer me? Wang Wei took a sip of his tea. He was not surprised by her words. With Dong Lifan's current achievements, few things could interest her. So, things that any emperor lineage could offer like resources, unique techniques, backup protection or secret knowledge, she can acquire all of them after proving the Tao. It depends on what you want, replied Wang Wei. What is your pursuit? Do you want to continue the Great Xia dynasty or have other goals? Dong Lifan did not answer him immediately. She looked in the distance, her eyes overseeing the entire dynasty. In an instant she saw the lives of countless citizens. For a long time I was obsessed with the dynasty, believing it was my duty to make sure it prospers, she uttered in a soft voice. However, what happened, I realized I had long accomplished that goal. Even worse, my ambitions and greed often led my people to danger. So you've let go? You could say that. So what are you pursuing now? I just want to be happy, she replied calmly. Wang Wei swirled his tea before taking a sip. A simple goal but not easily achieved. Yes, agreed Dong Lifan, looking him in the eyes. The cultivation world is cruel. Even if I step out from the world at any moment, someone could come to ruin my happiness. So, you need strength to protect your happiness. Wang Wei resonated with that sentiment. His desire is only to be free from all constraints and fetters. However, his desire opposed the very nature of society, which is full of rules and regulations. So, even back on Earth, his goal could not be fulfilled, let alone the cultivation world that is 1,000,000 times more complex. Do you know the realms after the great emperor? Asked Wang Wei. I don't, admitted Dong Lifan. One of her weaknesses was her lack of background, so she did not have access to such information. However, it did not matter since changing the situation was one of her agenda after proving the Tao. At Tier 11 there are normal Empyreans who can create world and life with a wave of their hands, followed by everlasting Empyreans who understand their true self, and escape the shackles of reincarnation. Tier 12 there are paragons and boundless paragons. I don't know much, but in this realm, these beings treat the river of time like their back garden, and the influence of fate on them reaches the lowest level possible. Dong Lifan took a moment to savor these words. She could fathom how powerful these realms were just by the short description. So, her eyes showed a look of desire. Do you think this is the end? Continued Wang Wei. Paragons used to be the rulers of the universe until my ancestor did some world-changing events in the upper dimension, bringing the world the realm of half-step transcendence. Transcendence, muttered Dong Lifan. As she uttered these words, she immediately felt the power contained in them. She had a feeling that all sentient beings, all cultivators, should pursue that single word. Wang Wei secretly smiled when he saw her reaction. If you want to protect your happiness, you need strength. I will admit the Tao opening sect cannot give you much help in the lower dimension. However, it's another thing after you ascend. After your experience, you should understand how much easier cultivation can be with the correct background. Dong Lifan greatly agreed with that last statement. As a self-made, successful cultivator, she knew how hard it was without the appropriate background. She was not arrogant to the point she could not admit part of her success was due to the help of her friend before her. Had he not given her control of the warring kingdom world, she did not know what path her life would have taken. But the chances of it being as glorious as now were very small. I must say I'm tempted, said Dong Lifan. But I cannot make such a decision lightly. If you have any concerns you can ask me. She looked at him. My intuition is telling me you're not telling me everything. What do you mean? How do I explain it? I feel like your promise is real but at the same time, empty inside. I don't understand why I have this sensation. Wang Wei laughed after hearing this. Your intuition is correct. Oh, is there any secret? The current situation of the upper dimension is not ideal, replied Wang Wei before condensing more information for her. So, Dong Lifan knew about the blockage of the lower dimension, the confrontation between the two suns, and the involvement of the 8 parasites. How could this be? She muttered. She did not expect such a drastic thing to happen in the upper dimension. Although she knew little about the place, she also did not expect things to be so bad. How is the Tao opening sect? She asked, going directly to the crux of the problem. Already caring about your future sect? I see you're as shameless as I remember. It's called being thick-skinned, no, being strategically minded, replied Wang Wei with a smile. To answer your question, it's probably sealed, not allowing anyone entry or exit. Dong Lifan nodded, but she became quiet, thinking about what choice to make. You don't have to worry about them, added Wang Wei. Oh, why do you say that? According to my predictions, true heavenly Tao will change the time flow rate after I ascend, making the time of the upper dimension pass faster. So, by the time you ascend, I should have taken care of these parasites. Destiny? She asked. Yes. I thought you would reject such a thing. I'm not pedantic, replied Wang Wei. These people will stand in my way one way or the other. If I can use heaven and earth's help to get rid of them, why not bear the burden of destiny? True, nodded Dong Lifan, analyzing the situation. Changing the time flow rate is a good move to prevent the lower dimension from being too affected by this battle. If these 7 individuals are not dealt with, more great emperors from the lower dimension will ascend and get entangled in this messy situation. So, it's best to deal with them as soon as possible and reduce their influence. So, what do you think? Asked Wang Wei. I am tempted, but I also have reservations. Tell me and we'll see if we can come up with a solution. Firstly, I do not know whether I will fit in with the other people of the Tao opening sect, said Dong Lifan. Secondly, there is the issue of trust. I did not grow up in the sect nor show any signs of loyalty. So, will they truly trust me and treat me as their own? Dong Lifan knew there was a reason sects accepted young disciples. It's easier to cultivate loyalty and obedience at such an age. But it was different for her. These issues are not much of a problem, said Wang Wei. Your master has agreed to become the sect's protector, so you already have a foundation of loyalty. Trust can be slowly cultivated. I have a lot of plans, some of which will require a talent like yourself. So, as long as you contribute to the sect, trust will no longer be an issue. As for things like betrayal, I'm sure you won't do anything stupid like that. Dong Lifan's eyes squinted as she understood his meaning. If she betrayed the sect, there wouldn't be a place in the world for her. Her fate would be to be hunted down, and if she dared ascend, that would be her end. Of course, I also acknowledge your side of the situation, continued Wang Wei. I promise to leave you with something in case the sect is the one who betrays you. Wang Wei did not think the members of his sect were infallible. Therefore, he also took into consideration Dong Lifan's perspective. In that case I agree, replied Dong Lifan. I admire your decisiveness. I wouldn't achieve what I have if I did not have such a trait. True, nodded Wang Wei, who felt relieved after hearing the positive answer. Before coming here, he was unsure because he knew Dong Lifan was extremely attached to the Great Xia dynasty. Luckily, fate was in his favor. Chapter 956 Heavenly King. So, what's next? Asked Dong Lifan. Do you want me to leave with you now? Depends. What's your plan for Great Xia? Dong Lifan pondered for a moment. According to my original idea, the next step was to fuse with the dynasty. According to the Fortune Dynasty path she created, once the ruler reached the minimum standard of borrowing the strength of the Grand Tao Source with their Qi luck, the next step was to permanently fuse with the dynasty, becoming something akin to a Tao ancestor's inner world. You have reservations about this path? Asked Wang Wei. Yes. It's fine if others do it, but the dynasty will become a major weakness to me, explained Dong Lifer. Her path has its advantages compared to Dao ancestors. The main one is the base strength of people in her path will be stronger than Dao ancestors because of the blessing of Qi Luck Dragon. Additionally, with a vast enough dynasty and prosperous luck, it's easier for the people in her path to become insurgent. However, there is also a major downside: the dynasty. If a Dao ancestor's inner world is destroyed, their strength will be decreased drastically, but they can also rebuild it. However, it's different for a dynasty. After losing so many civilians, the dynasty's Qi luck will be extinguished, and it's virtually impossible to return to the peak. In other words, the people who walked her path would be severely restricted by their dynasty. If they lose it, they will also lose their strength and maybe immortality. Wang Wei understood her hesitation. Losing the dynasty would indeed be a major blow. Although the people in your path won't lose their immortality, they probably won't be able to regain their strength after a very long time. Their only choice might be to change to the Dao ancestor path. That's what I'm worried about, nodded Dong Lifan. If she loses access to Great Xia, she is still powerful because of her fleshy body and because she has been exposed to the Grand Dao source. However, the people who followed her path won't be so lucky unless they follow her example and temper their bodies to a high enough level. However, there is a reason why few people can accomplish great things in the body refining path. Additionally, she has special authority as the founder of this path. True heavenly Dao won't have a problem if she changes to the Emperor path. However, it's not the same for others. Just like immortal venerables and Dao ancestors cannot participate in the heaven will and become a great emperor. My suggestion for you is to fuse the dynasty with your soul, said Wang Wei. Oh, why? The process can turn all citizens into spiritual life forms bonded to your soul. After you prove the Dao and become eternal, your soul will also become eternal. Dong Lifan's eyes lit up as she understood the benefit of such a method. As long as she is alive, these people will also be alive, achieving another form of immortality. Even if her soul were destroyed, as long as she healed or revived herself, these dead people of the dynasty would also return. There are even more benefits to this path, continued Wang Wei. With an entire dynasty in your soul, you might achieve 7 to 8% Grand Dao boosts after proving the Dao. If you add the boost of Qi luck, that's another 2 to 3%. Wang Wei knew this was not the limit since Qi luck's boost could continue to increase. You can walk a unique path of a spiritual fortune dynasty, he continued. His eyes became excited. You can convince other immortal venerables, Dao ancestors and other paths to fuse with your spiritual dynasty, granting them pseudo-eternal characteristics. Dong Lifan squinted her eyes as she understood the implications of these words. There is a great divide between the Emperor path and all other ways of immortality, and that disunity is the eternal characteristic. Great emperors and eternals have too many ways to escape death. Meanwhile, no matter how powerful an immortal sovereign or Dao ancestor, they will die after being killed once. However, now, they can achieve the same eternal characteristics as long as they fuse with her. Although their new immortality is based on Dong Lifan's survival, many people will be tempted by the offer, especially if she can become a boundless paragon, which is almost impossible to kill. This idea is excellent, she uttered. The higher the cultivation, the more afraid of death most people are. If they can find a way to save their lives, many people will agree. Her eyes shone brilliantly. I can even recruit other people by making contracts. They will fuse with me and I can use their strength, but they won't be under my control. In return, they will acquire the eternal characteristics they desire. These contracts can even be limited to a certain number of years. Wang Wei secretly praised her as he had the same thought. Of course, all of this lies in your inability to die easily. So, you must become an eternal emperor, followed by everlasting empyrean and boundless paragon. Lastly, if you have a lineage like the Dao opening sect as your backer, people will be more confident in your survival ability. Dong Lifan nodded. It's indeed a good choice to join the Dao opening sect. Although she had let go of her obsession with Great Xia, she felt a pain thinking about completely abandoning it. However, with this method, the dynasty can continue accompanying her journey of the Dao. So, the way forward for my heavenly King Wei is to fuse with the soul and sea of consciousness. The citizens will become spirit life forms bound to the ruler's soul. Although heavenly kings won't have eternal characteristics, they can revive their dead citizens as long as they survive and their souls heal from any damage. Heavenly King? Is that the name you chose? Yes, is something wrong? No, I just thought all these paths with different but similar names were too confusing. Wang Wei just thought how a normal mortal would try to keep all these names and paths in their minds. There are Heavenly Primarchs, which is Tier 12, now there is the Heavenly King, the Tier 10 of another system. not to mention Immortal Kings, the tier 12 of another system. If you add the soul path he is going to create, there are too many names with synonyms of the words king, ruler, or emperor. Dong Lifan glanced at him but did not say anything, so Wang Wei changed the subject. How much time do you need to finish everything here? Dong Lifan took a moment. I will announce the fusion and give people the choice to fuse or leave. I will leave a few void boats for the ordinary people who do not want to refuse, taking them to another world. The entire process should take a month. That's not long, nodded Wang Wei. He could wait for such a short period. I remember you once mentioned a destined woman for you, Dong Lifan suddenly said. Did you find her? I did, said Wang Wei with the most brilliant smile ever. She must be a wonderful woman. But she is. Well, I can't wait to meet her. In that case you will be disappointed, said Wang Wei with a smile. After seeing her confused look, he explained, things are complicated, so she's not here now. I see, she nodded, dedicated not to pry further. What about you? Anyone special? Yes, my husband, replied Dong Lifan with a gentle smile. Oh. Wang Wei was slightly surprised as he only asked randomly. He did not sense anyone in the palace who had dragon destiny, so she thought she did not have a king. Who is the lucky man? A scholar with the purest heart I've ever met, replied Dong Lifan, a brilliant smile hanging on the side of her mouth. He reminded me of the young me before you arrived. She remembered when they met. One day she went on one of her strolls to tour the dynasty and check the people's lives. Then she met a young scholar who was famous in the town and was serving as the town chief. The people loved him because of his benevolent rule, but the merchants and aristocrats around saw him as a stupid man and took advantage of his kind nature. Dong Lifan was intrigued and wanted to meet a scholar. She wondered how a civil servant of the dynasty could be so stupid. She checked on him and realized the latter was not stupid but too kind. He knew these people took advantage of him, but he did not care. Dong Lifan reprimanded him and told him to be tough when needed. She left after the tour, but a few months later she could not help but want to check on the scholar. She discovered he remained the same despite her warning. So she began to check on him regularly. Ultimately they got to know each other and fell in love. He sounds like a great guy. I would love to meet him. Dong Lifan's eyes dimmed a little. He's dead. The hardest day in her life was the failure to conquer the Black Ocean world, and not because she almost died. One of the reasons she survived that palm was because of her husband. The man had the purest soul she had ever met, so when he sacrificed it to protect her, he managed to block the palm and buy enough time for her to mobilize the dynasty's luck. He also left great protection in her body, granting her great vitality for healing. Do you want me to revive him for you? Asked Wang Wei. He's already reincarnated and just waiting, she said. Wang Wei looked at her, feeling guilty? A little, she replied with a sigh. My ambitions got him killed, and even afterward I did not stop. I'm a little scared to meet him again. If he is as king as you said, I am sure he'll forgive you. I know he will, but am not ready to forgive myself. I cannot help you with such a thing as self-forgiveness, commented Wang Wei. My advice to you is to see him and tell him the truth. Maybe he can help you work through it. Maybe, you're right. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 957 Preparations. Dong Lifan did not waste time. She sent the news about the fusion and allowed the citizens to choose their own path. As expected, more than 96% of people chose to follow her. These people knew their majesty was the source of their prosperity, so without her, their lives might return to the terrible state before the great Xia took over. As for the ones who chose another path, they had multiple reasons. Most of these people were not true supporters of Dong Lifan and only wanted to use the dynasty for their own ambitions. The others rejected the idea of relying on someone else for their life or immortality. Some simply wanted to live a normal or ordinary life. No matter what choice these people made, Dong Lifan did not stop them. She left a void boat to transport these individuals to another world. Afterward she proceeded with the fusion. A terrifying swallowing power emanated from Dong Lifan's Niwen acupoint, and the entire world was rapidly shrinking as they entered her head. It was like there was an invisible black hole in the middle of her forehead that was swallowing everything in its path. A mighty aura spread out from Dong Lifan's aura. A river of chains manifested before her as she raised her to mobilize her grand Tao source. The power of dreams and nightmares condensed in her hand before disappearing. How do you feel? Asked Wang Wei. Complete and flawless, she replied. The dynasty was no longer her weakness. Even the Qi dragon in her sea of consciousness was now a fundamental part of her body. It was like she had awakened a unique physique related to dragons. With a thought, a purple gold dragon appeared around Dong Lifan. Controlling the Qi luck so much easier now, it's like it was another part of my body, continued Dong Lifan. Before, she had to fuse with the dragon to bless her strength or defense. However, now she can materialize the dragon and use it as a defensive weapon. It seems that the dynasty has mutated because of your dream soul, commented Wang Wei. Yes, the citizens could be considered dream or nightmare life forms instead of pure spirit life forms, nodded Dong Lifan. Such a change was beneficial to her, so she did not mind. Wang Wei's eyes lit up after hearing this. You should take some time to control your leaking soul power, he warned. After the fusion, her soul drastically increased. Therefore she could not properly control its power. I will. Dong Lifan could tell her soul's transformation was unfinished and required some time. So she was not in a rush. In that case, let's go, said Wang Wei. With a wave of his hand, they disappeared and returned to the sect. I will take you to see the ancestors. He had already sent news, so many people were already waiting for them once they teleported to the secret realm. This is Dong Lifan, our 13th emperor, introduced Wang Wei before also introducing everyone to Dong Lifan. These people were surprised by her achievement. Origin 1 was the only calm one since he was the one who saved her and knew about her new path. He did not say anything to everybody else because he knew she did not officially preach her new path, so he did not want to affect her or bear the karma of this new immortal path. Thank you, Senior, for saving me, said Dong Lifan to Origin 1. Your master is part of our sect, so you're already one of our one. There is no need for pleasantry between us. Wang Wei secretly gave a thumb up to this old fox. He could get into the role so quickly. Of course, such a method won't work on a person like Dong Lifan, who was a ruler and used to see through people's facade. However, such an act showed the sect's attitude towards her, and that's all that matters. A new immortal path? I'm suddenly interested, said Hell One. What would happen if we took one of our quasi-emperor and had him set up a dynasty, then we forcefully conquer countless worlds and fuse them? Could we fast-track a new heavenly king? Of course not, replied Miscellaneous One. The threshold for the Qi Luck Dragon to bear the Grand Dao source should be very high. Such a dynasty would never meet the standard. A vast territory was not the only indication of a thriving or prospering dynasty. People's livelihood, happiness, the development of culture, art and technology are all parts that make a powerful dynasty. Furthermore, a fortune dynasty also requires powerful cultivators as its backbone, cultivators that are loyal to the dynasty. Not to mention the foundation like powerful artifacts or arrays to be used in time of need, development of professions like alchemy and training of elite troops. All these things must reach a high enough standard to condense a Qi Luck powerful enough to bear the power of the Grand Dao Source and become a heavenly king. This path should also have to experience tribulations like immortal venerables and Dao ancestors. If the Qi Luck is weak, the process would probably fail, added the steward. Yes, any path to immortality is valuable in the lower dimension, so things would not be so simple, nodded Hell One. We have plenty of time to analyze this new path, chimed in Origin 1. We need a proper plan for her Emperor path. Despite Dong Lifan's strength, Origin 1 wanted to be careful to ensure that no accident occurred. Do you have any idea? Yes, replied Wang Wei. We will hide her in the deception array to ensure true heavenly Dao does not know when she will participate in the Heavenwell battle. That way, it cannot scheme against her and create an opponent with 9 extremity foundation or of equal strength for her. Just like Battle Maniac, uttered Origin 1 softly. Qiyuan himself predicted the fate of Battle Maniac. He proved the Dao, followed by the Sword Empress, so it made sense the balance mechanism would not easily allow a sect to have 3 Eternals, especially back-to-back. So, it was not surprising that it cultivated a heaven chosen that could defeat the latter in the form of the sword-casting Villa's founder. Back then, Battle Maniac's strength had reached 2 root after re-establishing his foundation with Qiyuan's help. After all, he had no aversion to tempering his body, unlike his third sister. Furthermore, he could fight 3 root Dao ancestor for a short period with his battle skills. Regardless, he still lost to the sword-casting Emperor. However, the latter also paid a price. Heavenly Dao used so much luck and destiny to cultivate the sword-casting Emperor to such a state that he owed karma to Heavenly Dao. So, when he proved the Dao, he could only become a pseudo-eternal Emperor. Wang Wei nodded after hearing Origin 1's words. He worried this would happen, so he took precautions for Dong Lifan. His plan is that true heavenly Tao won't know until the last second when she will fight for the heavenly battle. The second will send Heaven Chosen to acquire the entrance token, if necessary, and give it to her. Then she will show up and suppress everybody with overwhelming strength. Wang Wei secretly sighed. The way true heavenly Tao operates the lower dimension is contradictory. It wants to cultivate powerful and talented great emperors, but it also does not want any factions to be too powerful and dominate the situation. With this method, the inceptive will be in our hands, nodded Origin One. They could choose a generation without talented Heaven Chosen and send her. This is a good plan. We only need to watch out for any fake out from heavenly Tao, and everything will be fine, added Miscellaneous One. One of the worst-case scenarios would be a situation where they believed there were no talented individuals in a generation and chose this time for her to prove the Tao. Then out of nowhere comes a monstrous-level genius. True, nodded Wang Wei before looking at Dong Lifan. What do you think? After all, this is regarding your proving Tao experience. Dong Lifan hesitated. If you have something to say, go ahead. I don't know. I feel like it might not be a bad idea to have a talented rival to push me just like Tian did to you. Wang Wei's lips twitched. It was indeed a good idea to have a rival or opponent in the Emperor path. However, that's only if you become the final winner. If you want a powerful opponent, I have a way of tempering you, so don't worry. If you say so. Let's go, we have work to do, said Wang Wei. Dong Lifan went through the process of becoming a member of the sect, like placing her name in the registry, creating her soul lamp, and other minor things. Afterward, she went to see her master and spent a few days. How is it? Have you checked that I did not bully your master? Dong Lifan smiled but did not say anything. She could tell her master's life was very fulfilling. Her dreams and ambitions have always been to pursue immortality, and soon she will accomplish her goal. Afterward, she can take her time to enjoy life and pursue the Tao. Alright, let's go, said Wang Wei, and the two went to the Eternal Dream sect. Wang Wei thought he could visit one of the Forbidden Lands, but he soon lost track of time. So, a few hundred years passed and it was already time for the third court meeting. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 958 Third Court Meeting, Unedited Chapter. The court members came extra early today. They wanted to use the merit they gathered in the past 1,000 years to exchange things. A few people had already exchanged things beforehand, but a few lineages predicted the list would update, so they saved their merit. As expected, when they checked the list today, a few new things were added, mainly 2 unique Grand Dao Source seeds. According to the description of the list, these seeds will allow the people to cultivate insurgents up to the 2nd class. Heavenly Tao blessed the seeds with its will using a system similar to Primarch's. As such, after creating an inner world with that unique seed, a Tao ancestor will receive a will blessing that makes them on par with 3rd and 2nd class great emperors. Sadly, this thing was extremely expensive and so far only the Tao opening sect can afford it. However, these top lineages who waited did not care. The mortal civilizations have only developed for 1,000 years and have plenty of time to continue to develop. Another unique thing on the list originated from the Heavenly Emperor. It's a cultivation-blessed land full of chaos chi. After paying a certain price, these lineages can borrow them to cultivate. Energy is also important to immortal cultivators. It's easier and faster for immortal venerables to convert chaos chi into immortal chi than using innate or spiritual chi. Tao ancestors and great emperors can absorb it to speed up their comprehension of the Grand Tao source. The higher the quality and intensity of the energy, the faster their cultivation is. It's one of the reasons many great emperors did not need to ascend as soon as possible during the beginning emperor era. The environment still provided them with opportunities to make progress, unlike modern times, where it is so slow that it makes people despair. After these people saw the thing on the list, they could not help but be speechless. They could detect many areas in the court full of chaos chi, yet the Heavenly Emperor asks them to pay for these blessed lands. His objective is obvious, he wants them to move the court. After so many years and seeing how the world changes every day, many people are not too averse to the idea of moving to the court. Although it would symbolize a more concentrated power of the court, which means less power for their faction, they could still accept such a change because they will benefit from this system once the current emperors leave and they put their people in the court. However, staying close to the Heavenly Emperor is like a mortal living in close proximity to a tiger. Even if you know the tiger is not targeting you, the mortal will still be afraid because this beast is powerful and can kill him anytime. Because of this mentality, most people resist the urge or desire to stay in the court. But now they realize they may soon not have a choice. The world is rapidly changing and opportunities are everywhere. If someone does not take it, someone else will. After I get enough luck to become the Academy's official emperor, I will move to the court, thought Su Shi. She has to spend a lot of time understanding the existence reconstruction technique, and she needs to use all the available help. Additionally, Chaos Chi is very suitable for her physique. The benefits she will acquire after absorbing it are more than even the Heavenly Emperor. Furthermore, she can also condense them into primordial Chi. Using merit to buy these blessed lands is a waste of time, so she decided to move to the court and take full advantage of their service. Time passed and it was finally the hour of the meeting. The Heavenly Emperor appeared and everyone saluted. "At ease," said Wang Wei as he observed everybody. There were some changes, but the only noteworthy one was Han Shun, the ruler of the Great Jin dynasty, became a Dao ancestor. Wang Wei could see the light of ambitions in this man's eyes. He guessed the latter's plan was to become a first-class insurgent, maybe even eternal-class insurgent, allowing him to have more power in the court and the world in general. Worthy of the human emperor's chosen successor, thought Wang Wei. "We have a few things to do during today's meeting," he declared, his voice calm yet authoritative. "Firstly, the sea race. Why hasn't the mortal subspace not connected to your territory yet?" The Panlong and Sea Lion clan's immortal sovereign looked at each other and prepared to explain. "Your Majesty, okay, you don't need to explain. Since you think my words can be ignored, prepare to suffer the consequences. For the duration of this meeting you can kneel." Wang Wei waved his hand. A terrifying pressure suppressed these two, forcing them to kneel on the ground. Countless immortal lights flashed in their bodies as they tried to resist, but it was futile. Afterward they realized they could not even speak. Shame and humiliation appeared on their faces. No matter how weak they are in the lower dimension, it does not change the fact they were tier 11 and deserve respect. "My patience is limited, so this is my last warning," said Wang Wei. He did not release any killing intent, but the room felt freezing. The other sea race representatives realized the severity of the situation. If they could not integrate into the world of land, their race would suffer a terrible catastrophe. Wang Wei focused on the crowd. "I'm very happy with how the mortal civilizations turned out. Although most of you did it only out of your own interest and benefit, I'm still satisfied with the final result." These representatives were speechless. The Heavenly Emperor always reveals the ugly truth to the public. Couldn't he be more tactful with his words? They secretly shake their heads. "Our next court affairs is the establishment of ruling departments," continued Wang Wei. "There will be the Department of General Affairs in charge of creating rules and regulations for the world, mostly to protect the mortal civilizations. We need a Department of Law Enforcement to reinforce the rules. Heavenly Tao will supervise this department to prevent abuse of power. Lastly, we need a Department of Foreign Affairs responsible for dealing with the myriad Emperor world's interaction with the lower realm and world communities." Wang Wei paused to give these people time to process this information and analyze things. A few seconds later he continued, "We need to develop the Divine Legions. I can tell all of you our next meeting will be about foreign expansion. Now, our main objective won't be about conquest, but we also must be prepared for war at any time. Many people will not accept the spread of new ideas, so force must be used." The representatives looked serious after hearing this. This sentence contains much information, but it can be summarized into one sentence: prepare for eventual war. Wang Wei looked at these people's reactions. He knew none of them would truly help establish the Divine Legion. However, his main objective was to tell them to prepare to fight for their interest. "That's it for now, but there should be more departments as we develop. Each department will have a department head and deputy, along with other lower positions. I will use a unique test to choose these positions. Interested personnel can participate." The representatives became excited after hearing this. These positions are very valuable, not only because of the cultivation blessing and merit for serving the court but also because of the political power that comes with them. Wang Wei ignored these people and focused on Aoshin. "I once said I owe your demon race for going back on my word and taking the racial luck condensing artifact. As repayment, I give you two choices: guarantee positions in these departments or merit points." Aoshin swiftly analyzed the pros and cons. Although the position would increase the demon's political power and influence on the world, he could foresee many people using the fact they bypassed the test to get their positions to make trouble for them. So, it would be best to acquire them using the official method. "I choose merit points." Wang Wei nodded and transferred 3.5 million merit points to the demon race. This amount was more than enough for breaking a promise. Oh, before I forget, don't kill Xianxia, added Wang Wei. He still had his great trafficking plan. Although Xianxia was not a top heaven chosen in this generation, he was still a great talent. Now that he was in such terrible shape with his bloodline destroyed, the Sea race might make the stupid decision to kill him, and Aoshin won't have any issue once he finishes his dealing with the Baishi clan. Aoshin nodded calmly. He never expected to hide his actions and whereabouts from the Heavenly Emperor. Since the latter never stopped him, he knew he would encounter no problem with his plan, at least not from Wang Wei. Now, let's discuss the main subject of this meeting, declared Wang Wei. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 959 Dream World I. For my demonstration you only need to concentrate and use the words, Dream Incarnate, said Wang Wei. Many people were confused, but they knew this was not the time to ask questions, so they followed orders. The world changed and the representatives found themselves in a strange world. Everything was bright, ethereal, and illusory. Additionally, the ground on their feet seemed to be clouds. Welcome to the dream world, said Wang Wei, who stood before them. I know you have questions. Wait a while before I explain. Everybody nodded and waited. Some people felt something momentous was about to happen. As I said, this is a world made of dreams. So what is its purpose? Many things. This is a world of communication and unique experience, explained Wang Wei. This dream world will be accessible to everyone in the Myriad Emperor world using the password I told you before. In other words, from now on, this place can be used to communicate with anyone worldwide, including mortals. Wang Wei looked at some of these people's reactions and secretly shook his head. I know most of you don't care about such a thing. However, have you thought about communicating with other world communities? Your Majesty, you mean? Yes, once we spread our wings to the lower dimension, the dream world will be accessible to other world communities. By then, a mortal in the farthest corner of our world can easily communicate with someone from the farthest world community from us. The representatives finally showed excitement as they understood the implications behind these words. Communication is key for everyone. Learning from other people's Tao and experience is a fast way to improve. Additionally, the Heavenly Emperor showed them the advantage of learning other cultivation systems as he used another Heaven Will system to prove the Tao on his own and achieve the status of immeasurably Emperor. The Myriad Emperor world has been cut off from the endless void for too long, so even the top Emperor lineages were careful in re-establishing communication. But now, with the dream world, most of their restraint and danger have been eliminated. Your Majesty, I have a question, said Su Shi. Are you going to ask if we can use the dream world as a platform to exchange resources with other world communities? Yes. With the revival of the environment, the Myriad Emperor world will enter a prosperous age where cultivation resources are everywhere. However, it did not mean exchanging with other worlds was useless. On the contrary, they had more rare things to exchange with others, thus increasing the resources in their world. No one would think they have too many resources. Yes, it will be possible, said Wang Wei. However, this ability is temporarily not activated. You have to wait a while. Su Shi's eyes squinted lightly as she nodded her head. She tried to analyze why this ability was not available, but she had too little information. Let's continue, said Wang Wei after seeing no more questions. He waved his hand, and a small square appeared before every representative with a rune inscribed at the top. Each rune was different and unique. This is your dream imprint. If you exchange imprints with someone else, you can contact each other directly. Everyone nodded. They understood the need for this thing. If so many people will use the dream world, it's imperative to establish a way to communicate with the people you wish to. The representatives checked the dream imprint and learned they could leave recorded messages to their friends in case the latter is busy or not in the dream world. They can create chat groups, inviting multiple people to appear in a safe space and communicate with each other. Many people felt this imprint might have other ideas, but only the basics are introduced. The next function I will introduce is the home, continued Wang Wei. You can buy your own home in the dream world and customize it as you wish. Wang Wei waved his hand, and a towering mountain appeared behind him. Under his control, the lonely mountain soon turned into an immortal palace shining with Tao rhyme, exuding luxury and nobility. He turned to these people and asked, "What do you think?" People were in deep thought before someone muttered, "This doesn't seem to be useful besides being aesthetically pleasing." "Not really," countered Aoshin. "May I ask, do we have the power of unlimited creation in our home?" Not unlimited, but yes, you can create whatever you want. Ao Shin's eyes lit up as he figured out the use of this thing. His demon race is brutal by nature, making them very belligerent. He opened countless battle coliseums in this territory, allowing them to fight and exercise their nature. He did not want them to become aggressive towards humans and generate another calamity. Unfortunately, the Colosseum has a major flaw: too many people died in the process. Although such violent battles allowed him to cultivate elite demon races, the process also killed too many people. Their population has only recuperated in this generation, so Ao Shin felt pain after losing any of them. However, now he saw another way. He can create the Colosseum in the dream world, allowing these demons to fight and kill each other without fearing death. It seems some of you have already figured out the use of this home setting, said Wang Wei. Many of us have hidden desires or ambitions, some of which we cannot accomplish because of our lack of ability, the devastating effect our actions can have, the fear of failure and death, or restraint by our morality. But in your home in the dream world, you can do whatever you desire. If you want to be an emperor that rules the lives of trillions, you can. He waved his hand and the place changed. Wang Wei sat on a throne looking at all sentient beings. If you want to be a mighty general that slaughters all its enemies, you can be. The setting changed and he was on a battlefield commanding a mighty legion. If you want to be lost in carnal desires, you can. As he said these words, one of the representatives was surrounded by hundreds of beautiful women with different temperaments. Some were cold and indifferent, some were doting and loving, some were domineering, some were shy, and some were extremely open and proactive. The representative almost broke his Tao heart after seeing these beautiful women, some of whom were on par with the Time Void Empress. Luckily, he was also an immortal and had lived for some time, so his mind was not easily shaken. If you have someone in your mind you have lost, and time has diluted their presence and memory in your mind, this setting is perfect for you, continued Wang Wei. A beautiful woman appeared before him, wearing her iconic long cheongsam and showing her long legs. As soon as she appeared, she immediately stole the limelight from beauties like Su Shi and Hua Fenghuang simply by her aura and temperament. Wang Wei raised his hand to caress her face, looking at her with tender eyes. She smiled at him in response. A few seconds later, she vanished in a puff of smoke. Now you should understand the use of this setting, continued Wang Wei, ignoring the strange eyes some people were giving him. He knew with his status and strength, everything he did was major news to be discussed or gossiped. This is why there are still rumors he had a hidden relationship with Su Shi. However, he did not care. I have a question. No, it should be a concern, said Hua Fenghuang. Please. Could a cultivator use their home to recreate someone they have affection for but could not get in real life, then do something disgusting to them? As soon as she said that, many of the women in the room realized the possibility of this happening and began to discuss it. Why are you guys acting like it's something only man would do? Said one of the representatives. Some female cultivators would do the same thing. That's true. No, we want. Bullshit. Look at how handsome and suave your majesty is. I'm sure many of you would secretly recreate him and fulfill all your fantasies. Wang Wei secretly gave that guy a thumbs up, especially after seeing a few female representatives blush. In the end, when he saw an argument was about to happen, he coughed lightly, stopping everybody. This is indeed an issue, but the home setting is the private property of anyone who buys it. So I will not interfere. After all, whatever they do in their homes will not affect the real person. However, there will be rules and regulations for people who cannot distinguish between reality and dream. So, if someone begins to harass the real individual, they will be warned and punished. Hua Fenghuang nodded and frowned. This was the best in the current situation. Anyway, she did not have to worry about such a thing. Tier 10 cultivators are higher dimensional life forms, so if someone tried to recreate them and defile their image, they would immediately know. The situation is even more favorable for eternal emperors who have comprehended their existence. If someone recreated them in this dream world, they could take control of this dream avatar with a single thought. Your Majesty, this poor monk notices you use the word purchase, chimed in Feng Heng. Yes, the dream world will use a currency called dream coins, said Wang Wei. Dream coins can be condensed by using a small portion of your spiritual power, said Wang Wei as he showed them. The representatives followed his example and condensed dream coins. Many people frowned as this system indicated that they could have endless wealth and resources to use in this dream world. However, would things be so simple? Of course not, thought Wang Wei. He calculated how many dream coins every tier and class of cultivators can condense in a day. The data was based on the weakest of a tier to the most talented individuals, including the Great Emperor world. Afterward, he priced the things in the dream world based on that data. So, even eternal emperors like Su Shi and Feng Heng could be said to be somewhat wealthy and do not have infinite wealth. He made dream coins so easy to condense because of mortals and because he only wanted one thing from them: circulation. This thing is the biggest fraud of the dream world and hides many secrets. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 960 Dream World 2. Wang Wei did not explain the secrets of dream coins to them. Instead, he introduced the next setting of the dream world. A beautiful, small creature with wings appeared before him, landing on his palm. "XN, say hi to everybody," said Wang Wei, and the little elf bowed to the representatives. "It's a pleasure for XN to make all your acquaintances." "She's so cute," muttered someone. "Isn't she?" nodded Wang Wei. "XIN is the dream world's Dao heart spirit. If you have any problem with your Dao heart, any trouble that is affecting your state of mind or any heart demon, you contact her and she will help you through it. Of course it's not free." "Your Majesty, are you serious?" asked Su Shi. There were no pills or herbs in this world that could help someone with the issue of their Dao heart. Therefore, the only way to deal with the situation is to become enlightened and deal with the issue individually. Sometimes the advice of an elder, family, or close friend might help, but in the end, every cultivator with a problem with Dao heart has to rely on their own. But if Xin's abilities are real, the situation might change. "I would not joke about something like that," explained Wang Wei. "Xin, or the Dao heart spirit, is the culmination of two different civilizations. He went to his science and technology world to learn about psychology or the human mind or psyche. He visited human civilizations that are based on futuristic versions of Earth, along with civilizations that focus deeply on mental health. After acquiring their knowledge, he combined it with his understanding of the Dao heart and the state of the cultivation world to create this world's version of a therapist. From now on, when cultivators have problems with their minds, they can talk to Xin, and she will help them with their problems." Wang Wei looked at the little elf in his palm. Now she only lacks experience dealing with cultivators. After gathering data for a few thousand years, she will be perfect. Does anyone want to give her a try? People hesitated for a moment before a few volunteered. "Look at your dream imprint," continued Wang Wei, and all the representatives looked at the screen before them. The rune was still at the top, but in the middle of the screen were two smaller squares with small characters written at their bottom: frowny face communication, home, Dao heart spirit. The volunteers knew what to do, so they used their minds to access the Dao heart spirit. Immediately afterward, they disappeared from everybody's sight. However, in less than 5 minutes they reappeared. "You," said Wang Wei, pointing at a middle-aged man who was a representative of the worshipping Dao Academy. "Tell us your experience." The man was slightly startled but soon calmed down and talked about his experience. "I found myself in a white room, and XN asked me whether I wanted to use room 1 or room 2. Room 1 contained 2 cushions that faced each other, while room 2 was this strange bed that Xin explained I could use to lie down, making communication easier. I chose room 1 and we had a conversation. I felt like I could tell her my deepest secrets and she would understand me and not judge. She did not tell me what to do but, through conversation, guided me to figure things out on my own. In my life I have never felt at peace and in tune with myself. Although we only conversed for 5 minutes, I can feel my spirit become more condensed and my state of mind more peaceful than ever." Everyone was surprised that such a change could happen in a mere 5 years. However, they did not doubt this person's words because they could feel the changes in his aura. Furthermore, the other volunteers had a similar experience. "Let's continue," said Wang Wei. "The next setting is Cultivation Simulation. As the name implies, you can simulate different aspects of cultivation. If someone is stuck at a bottleneck or feels their chances at breaking into the next realm are low, they can stimulate their breakthrough in the dream world before attempting it in the world. This setting is not just for cultivation. You can simulate refining a pill, weapon, talisman, array, puppets, and even certain techniques that you want to create but are not sure which direction to take." No one could remain calm after hearing this function. The emperor lineages might not completely care about the cultivation simulation since their sect cultivates heaven chosens, but it's not the same for the supreme, holy, and law lands. The happiest of this group was the loose cultivators, who had no or flawed cultivation inheritance. Such a function is their version of God. But the function of this thing goes beyond what is stated. The emperor lineages wish to cultivate immortal sovereigns in this generation, but the breakthrough to tier 11 involved a bottleneck for all immortal paths. But now, the success rate for breakthroughs can drastically increase after simulating countless times. Our profession Dao will enter an age of prosperity, muttered the representatives from the Origin Pill Dao sect. Alchemists, or any professions, have high status because of their rarity, and there are not many of them because too many resources are required to cultivate even the most talented professions. Now the issue of resources has been dealt with. Factions can use the dream world to cultivate professions without wasting too many resources. Your Majesty, how accurate is the simulation? Can I simulate Refinen Emperor tier pill that requires the Grand Dao source? The accuracy is 99.9%, and yes, you can simulate Emperor tier pills. He spent a lot of effort in this dream world, using the help of Dong Alifan, the Eternal Dream Sect, and even countless profession insurgents in his factions, ensuring there was nothing wrong with the simulations. He also infused it with his Fate Dao, which can control myriad Daos, along with Heavenly Daos Heaven Dao. As such, the simulations were perfect, but he did not say that because he knew there was no absolute in this world. I'm assuming we have to pay to use this simulation. But do we also have to pay for the simulated materials for refining? Asked Dao Shin. He was also very excited about this setting. His demon race does not have much talent for professions. However, he can now pile up a bunch of professions using simulations. No matter how untalented his clan is, after trying to refine a pill or weapon more than 10,000 times, they should succeed. If 10,000 times is not enough, then try 100,000 times. It's free to refine anything below the Immortal tier, explained Wang Wei. For Immortal tier creations, you must pay a fee for every 10 materials. Everyone thought this was fair. After all, the value of mortal items paled compared to Immortal tier. I'm in a good mood, so I will tell you a secret way to use this setting, said Wang Wei. You can simulate what it would be like to be a great emperor, including an eternal. I don't need to tell you the benefit of doing this. The representative's eyes lit up. After experiencing the power of a great emperor, it's easier for their Dao ancestors to create insurgent tier techniques. I have another concern, said Huafeng Huang. Does the dream world fall into the jurisdiction of the court? Wang Wei looked at her, and he knew what she wanted to ask. What will happen to the dream world after he leaves? Will the court control it or the Dao opening sect? The dream world is the property of the Dao opening sect, but the court has some power over it, explained Wang Wei. Members of the court have discounts for certain products of the dream world, and the heavenly emperor of each generation has the power to make certain changes to the dream world, but it's limited. Your Majesty, can you elaborate? Whoever sits on the throne cannot do as they please, like banning people from entering the dream world without any reason or making it so that the factions do not have to pay for any of the functions. However, I also understand the situation is ever-changing, and I cannot calculate everything. So, if there is a situation where it's necessary to make changes to the dream world, the Heavenly Emperor will have the power to do so. What if an emperor makes a decision and the Dao opening sect disagrees? Heavenly Dao will be the tiebreaker, replied Wang Wei, and people would accept this decision. Heavenly Dao will make decisions based purely on rationale and facts and will prioritize the world instead of any singular factions, so it's the best tiebreaker. Wang Wei looked at these people and could see some of their worries and hesitation. The dream world is more of a neutral existence. It belongs to the Dao opening sect because I created it, and it provides the sect with luck and destiny. Under most situations, it will remain intact and unaffected by the political landscape of the endless void. I will perfect the rules and regulations before leaving, so there is no need to worry. Everyone felt relieved. So far, the Heavenly Emperor has displayed his fairness to ensure the Dao opening sect does not completely dominate the Heavenly Court and the world. Therefore they felt relieved by his words. Let's talk about the final setting of the dream world. As Wang Wei said these words, a magnificent tower appeared in the distance, rising from the ground all the way to the clouds. The Battle Tower of 10,000 Worlds? He said with a smile. As you can guess, this is a place where you can fight with anyone without fear of death. The bodies used in the dream world are composed of dream power, so it's not a problem for it to die. Mortals will experience short periods of dizziness due to their lack of spiritual power, but they can quickly recover after a short nap. The tower has many functions, including my favorite emperor imprints, continued Wang Wei. I have recreated the imprints of all the great emperors of the world, meaning you can fight a projection of them during any stages of their cultivation, including after proving the Dao. These people's eyes lit up after hearing this. Many people wanted to fight a great emperor. Some emperors were mediocre in their youth or early stages of cultivation, so it's possible to maltreat them and gain a sense of achievement. This is just the beginning, said Wang Wei. In the future, geniuses, heaven-chosens, powerhouses, and great emperors from all the world communities will appear in the tower so that you can battle them. There will be countless lists ranking the geniuses and powerhouses, including great emperors of different worlds. I even plan to create a list to rank all the races in the endless void. The representatives' eyes shrunk as they realized the implications behind these words. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 961 Greatest Era Destiny Incalculable Destiny. That's what these lists represented. Anyone who could get into these lists will receive destiny from the entire lower dimension. The number 1 in the Heaven Chosen list will have a 90% chance of being an eternal emperor with such a condensed destiny, while the top 20 will have a 60 to 80% chance. From now on, the lower dimension is guaranteed to have at least one eternal emperor in every generation. After all, the people on this list will battle not only the geniuses in their world community but all the geniuses in all 3800 Heavenworld world. Anyone who can reach the top of the list will truly be an unparalleled genius. The process of reaching the top of the list will be like a simulated Heavenworld battle that involves every heaven chosen in the lower dimension. After creating the tower, Wang Wei felt regretful he could not be born in an era where this thing already existed. In the end, he could only be satisfied to be the one who brought about this new era of prosperity. Additionally, the Heaven Chosen list is not the only important one. The number 1 race in the list will also have a higher chance of becoming the protagonist of the lower dimension, and other worlds will also have an opportunity to take away the myriad emperor world's destiny as the prime world. Although the chances are not as high because Qiyuan gave it this destiny after winning an intense war in the First Origin War, there is still a chance. Additionally, Wang Wei will not only use the tower for physical battles. There will be other battles like for the professions. As such, there will be lists of the best alchemists, weapon refiners, array masters and talisman makers. Some worlds have their unique professions and he might include them in the list. In conclusion, once the dream world spreads to other world communities, the Battle of Tower of 10,000 Worlds will become a place to fight for luck and destiny. The tower is the core setting to ensure the dream world is popular, brings him countless benefits, and also ensures the longevity of his heavenly emperor era. It will be one of his greatest achievements in the lower dimension. True heavenly Tao is very strict with the rules of the lower dimension for one purpose only, to cultivate elite and talented great emperors. The tower's purpose is to help in this great cause. Wang Wei looked at the tower and thought hopefully this plan will work. While creating the tower, he realized its significance and had a new idea of how to help Li Jun and Yan Liling become eternal while paying a small price. The first step of that plan is for them to reach the top of the list and gather immense luck and density. He wants them to have so much that even true heavenly Tao cannot easily ignore them. Once that is completed, he will proceed to the second step. Once the plan is finished, these two will still not be able to officially become the sex emperors until much later, but they will still be eternals. According to his original idea, these two would become pseudo-eternals, but after serving their time and succeeding in their merit, they could bargain with true heavenly Tao to give them another chance to comprehend their existence. However, such a plan was risky as Li Jun and Yan Liling would have to serve their terms without the protection of an eternal emperor's ability. This new plan is much better, thought Wang Wei, full of confidence. Previously he would not have much hope for Li Jun to reach the top. But now, with the latter's fiend god bloodline and his teaching, there is nothing to worry about. As for Yan Liling, he had the utmost confidence in her pill refining talent. In the lower dimension, there are only people on par with her and no one better than her. Wang Wei smiled, thinking how Tao opening sect would dominate the list for a while. Firstly with Li Jun, followed by his father, Wang Tian. Of course, he knew the competition would be fierce because of the reward he set up for the top 20 using the washing karma pool. Wang Wei's original plan was to keep the pool a secret for the sect. However, after his deduction he realized the best way to use this thing without allowing true heavenly Tao the opportunity to restrict its function or scheme against the sect to destroy it is to allow more people to use it. As such, he made the decision to use it as the reward for the Heaven Chosen list. By then, factions from all over the endless void will not hesitate to wake their sleeping Heaven Chosen to compete for the list, intensifying the competition which will increase the quality of people who can reach the top and cultivate more eternal emperors. With this plan, Wang Wei will receive a ton of merit, maybe enough to cultivate even beyond the Empyrean realm. More importantly, the balance mechanism will no longer be always oppressing him because the entire lower dimension will have a drastic increase in strength, not just the Tao opening sect. The only problem with this plan is that I have to delay the time for Li Jun and Yan Liling to prove the Tao. According to his original plan, these two would have proven the Tao before his mother, but that's not happening now. Wang Wei looked at the representatives and could guess what was in their mind. After this meeting, they will use every means to cultivate their people so they can enter the list. They will no longer hide many rare resources and use them. The dream world was a rare opportunity. It will take some time before other world communities become members, so they must use this time to their advantage. With such an advantage, the Myriad Emperor world must ensure they dominate a few lists, showing the endless void that they are back and better than ever. They must take luck and destiny from other worlds and make their own prosper. Aoshin's body could not hide his trembling body. He saw hope for the demon race to reach new heights, take the destiny from other world communities. If things proceed smoothly, their race might even become the new protagonist of the Myriad Emperor world. That's not realistic, he thought. All the Emperor lineages have countless hidden geniuses and foundations. Meanwhile, the demon race has been ravaged so many times that most of their sleeping geniuses are dead. Regardless, this is an opportunity. The innate environment has allowed the demon race to reach new heights, with countless of their members awakened innate demon bloodlines. Previously, he had made plenty of effort to train these members as the core or foundation of the demon race. Now he has to put even more emphasis on them. Should I reveal the news about the karma washing water? Contemplated Wang Wei. With this news, these factions won't have any restraints whatsoever to train their people, and when these lists officially open, the Myriad Emperor world will truly be ready. Forget it, said Wang Wei, deciding to place his own interest first on this occasion. He had great trust in Li Jun, but it did not change the fact he needed time to develop his bloodline. Wang Wei chose to hide the news to reduce the initial difficulty for Li Jun and buy him enough time to tap all his potential. This is for now for the dream world, said Wang Wei. He knew there should be more settings or abilities, but it was enough for now. Do you have any questions? People had plenty of questions, and he answered the ones he could or did not say anything on the ones he felt were considered secrets and information that should not yet be released. Our next step is to use the dream world to elect the department heads and vice heads of the court, continued Wang Wei. The test is mostly based on managerial ability. I have created a dream world or scenario, and the people interested will enter and be tested. I will give you an hour to choose who you will send for the tests. The representatives did not waste time and exited the dream world. They had to send words about this momentous creation while also asking their factions to choose people to compete for the court's political positions. Soon afterward, all the testers showed up, including the Tao opening sect steward. He was competing for the position of head of the Department of Foreign Affairs. According to the sect's analysis, this position will have the most power in the court in the future and must be controlled by them. The test for these positions was divided into two, and the first one was the same for the General and Foreign Affairs Department. The chosen representatives will enter a dream scenario where they have to manage a weakened emperor lineage and make them prosper again. They have to deal with internal disputes, control resource distribution, eliminate foreign competitors, form alliances, and re-establish commerce and other things. The second part of the test was different. The General Affairs Department had become court members in the scenario, and their task was to create rules and deal with conflicts. They will be rated based on how efficiently they deal with internal conflicts between factions. Meanwhile, the Foreign Department had a similar test, but their simulation dealt with foreign heavenworld worlds and their communities. This test was more difficult because these worlds had different cultures, histories, and beliefs, so it took great ability and finesse to deal with conflicts between them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 962 The departments. While the tests were underway, the other representatives began to condense dream coins. They did not want to waste time and test some of the dream world's functions. Most people used the home function, living their wildest dreams. The second largest group tried the battle tower. Wang Wei secretly smiled as he watched this, but his eyes soon twitched. He immediately noticed a female representative trying to condense his face and body in their home. I'm right there. Couldn't you wait? He did not know how to evaluate this person's behavior. Sadly, the other person's smile soon turned into a frown as she realized she could not condense her image. Hey, if I weren't married, I would have no problem allowing people to use my face and image for their wildest dreams. It would be an excellent way to gather more dream coins. Alas, I cannot risk my old lady becoming jealous or using this information against me in the future, thought Wang Wei with a deep inner sigh. He only felt it was too bad to waste such an opportunity. The woman soon turned red in embarrassment. She looked around to see if anyone was around. After realizing her home was utterly private, she sighed in relief. She tried a few times without success before condensing someone else. Li Jun Wang Wei immediately felt things got out of control too fast. This woman was an immortal venerable. She should have more shame than this. Ultimately, he could only remain speechless, but not for long. Not even a few minutes after this woman, he had another reason for his eye to twitch. Another representative chose his imprint to fight him in the tower. The representative first chose the versions at the Supreme Realm, but he was slaughtered by one attack, so he chose the Void-Shattering Realm. However, according to the setting of the imprint, at this stage Wang Wei had already started his 9-extremity foundation and could borrow the power of his incarnation for a short duration. As such, his challenger, who was an immortal venerable, did not survive long in this battle. Angered, the representative chose the supernatural realm version of Wang Wei and started to kill him repeatedly. The representative was having fun for a while. Then Wang Wei's imprint was suddenly angered and used a desperate move. He mobilized all the power of his soul, removing the shackles in the process. Then, an unparalleled soul power crushed the representative at the cost of the imprint's life. After recondensing his dream body, the representative was scared and stopped this futile and juvenile tactic. Wang Wei secretly shook his head. Luckily, I'm not the only one suffering. He could tell many people secretly challenged the Eternals of this generation. Some wanted to know how powerful these emperors were when they were young, while others only wanted to abuse the young emperors for their sick and twisted pleasure. Let's change the rules so that there is a limit to how often someone can challenge people way weaker than you. He did not completely block these people from challenging weaker opponents or stop them from abusing these young emperors. He understood many cultivators resented the fact that only one person could prove the Tao in one generation and thus may use this method to lash out their feelings. However, he also did not want people to abuse this system. Time passed and the test ended. The results were both expected and unexpected. The department leader of General Affairs was a man called Taoist Evergreen, a member of the Loose Cultivator Alliance. Wang Wei, along with many others, was surprised by this outcome since no one expected the Loose Cultivator Alliance to have someone as capable as Taoist Evergreen. This alliance has always been like its name, a bunch of loose sands banding together. The way the alliance treated a talent like Huang Yuan in this generation proves their lack of managerial abilities. Yet someone like Taoist Evergreen showed up. Two explanations for this anomaly, thought Wang Wei. Evergreen belongs to the Loose Cultivator Alliance but does not take part in its management. Second, and most likely, he's why they have not crumbled due to internal conflicts after so many years. Wang Wei looked at Evergreen and instantly read his fate line. He learned his second theory was correct. Taoist Evergreen is the single threat keeping the alliance from falling apart. He has to deal with the extremely independent nature of loose cultivators, ensuring they still have some affection and connections to the alliance. Furthermore, he also has to ensure the rulers of the alliance do not create families and clans, turning the alliance into a sect or faction controlled by a specific group. A great talent, commented Wang Wei before focusing on the deputy lord, who was someone from an emperor lineage with two great emperors. Some people were surprised that the top emperor lineages did not control the top positions. Such a weak emperor lineage has survived for so long. It must be this person's work, analyzed Wang Wei as he looked at the woman dressed in green clothes. Most weak emperor lineages will not survive long as the top lineages secretly destroy them and plunder their resources. Wang Wei looked at the other positions in this department but did not focus too much on them. His attention was soon drawn to the other departments. The Department Lord of Law Enforcement was a member of the spirit race. His main body was a ruler that once belonged to a scholar. In his past, the ruler was a rare artifact in the mortal world, passing from the hands of one scholar after another, nurturing its intelligence. The ruler has served many people, including countless prime ministers, before acquiring his wisdom and condensing his body. It makes sense he is chosen. Such a spirit race is born for law enforcement, administration, and prosecution. If this person were born during the Warring State area, he would be a legalist saint, commented Wang Wei. He was reassured by this person as the leader of the department. The deputy lord of this department was Patriarch Mo from the Mo clan. His facial expression did not look good and Wang Wei could guess why. This old fox was probably trying to gain political power to revitalize his family and devil cultivators in the West. Unfortunately, he did not expect to fail and not become the department head. Wang Wei looked at the last department, Foreign Affairs. The final winner was, of course, the steward from the Tao opening sect. This department was the most competitive. These lineages were not stupid and could deduce the power of this department once the court began its expansion. As such, despite how talented the steward was, there were many competitors whose management talent was on par with him. Most of these people originated from ancient lineages. Any of these lineages who could survive for so long will have someone to ensure things go smoothly. In the end, the steward benefited from his background. Since everybody was relative to each other, Wang Wei made the final decision and chose him. Finally, the deputy lord was a cold and indifferent woman from the Yin Moon Palace who was dressed entirely in blue. After everything finished, Wang Wei once again said, "Today's meeting is finished. The next meeting will not have a fixed time. I will summon you once it's time." Everyone was fine with this news. The world has experienced drastic changes in a very short time, so they needed time to process everything and settle down. Changes were good, but too many of them and too fast were not necessarily a good thing. The department heads and elected officials should stay to establish your departments and related rules and regulations. If you have to leave, don't take too long. No one wanted to leave as they were prepared to spend more time in the court. Although most people had already created an outline for operating their departments, consulting others before determining the final drafts was necessary. Additionally, these people knew a political battle was about to take place despite the fact that these positions were already assigned. Therefore, it was not a good idea to leave at this moment. Wang Wei dismissed everyone, and most representatives left the dream world. They wanted to return to their faction and strategize for the future development of their faction. Wang Wei also exited as well, opening his eyes to his throne. Everyone should have left, but someone still remained Su Shi. "Do you need anything? I wanted to ask whether you would conduct another Dao discussion in the near future?" "I will," nodded Wang Wei. "But wait until Huafeng Huang and Ao Shin deal with their problems." Su Shi's eyes squinted as this sentence revealed a lot of information. She was suspicious of Ao Shin's movements but could not gather any concrete evidence or proof despite her deduction. This world is about to experience a truly prosperous era, she thought, feeling a sense of pressure. I can't no longer have any hesitation. Su Shi decided to rush home to meet with the Academy's members. Then she will enter the dream world to have a chat with Xian regarding her husband, Lin Fan. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 963 Hidden Secrets. Wang Wei calmly watched Su Shi's leaving back. He then focused on Dream World. It was about to be open to mortals, so he wanted to make one last check. Martial artists will enjoy the battle tower, but it may not be the same for others. So, competitions like chess, calligraphy, poetry, music and runes should appeal to them. The home setting should be the most favored by mortals, but Wang Wei still wants to lure them to spend their dream coins in other places. There is also the sermon section and Dao rhymes that haven't been opened yet. The sermon section allows people to acquire more coins. They can record themselves explaining the Dao, and others can pay to watch. This function should greatly benefit the entire world as even mortals can hear great emperors explain the Dao. The Dao rhyme setting is connected to the battle tower. Once it's activated, people can watch recorded battles and feel the Dao rhymes or law comprehension and applications of these battles. For example, it's possible for a cultivator to learn a technique that Qiyuan or Absolute Beginning Emperor used in their youth or after proving the Dao. However, this section is unfinished, unlike the sermon section that is already built but waiting for the right time to become public. Wang Wei needs to modify these past powerhouses' imprints and use his time Dao to record the Dao rhymes from the actual battles. However, this process takes some time, so he left a clone to do the tiring work. Everything is working perfectly fine, thought Wang Wei before focusing his attention on the world and uttering, "I have created the dream world, allowing for the communication and idea sharing of all sentient beings. To access it, you only need to close your eyes, focus and mutter the code word, Dream Incarnate." His voice echoed in the minds of all mortals, shocking many people. This was not the first time the mortals heard an announcement from the Heavenly Emperor, but the information relayed was odd. With an uncontrollable curiosity, many people closed their eyes and followed the instructions. In an instant, trillions of mortals entered the dream world. Wang Wei paid attention and was relieved that nothing happened. Although he knew this would be the case, a small part of him could not think back on Earth when servers clashed during the launches of popular games. After entering the world, these mortals' dream imprint appeared before them in the form of a screen. Afterward, information about the dream world and its ability entered these people's minds. Following the introduction, most mortals began to condense dream coins while a few looked around first. Dream coins are condensed from spiritual power, and mortals have a limited supply of this power, so they can only condense a certain amount before they are forced to stop. Without sufficient spiritual power, their dream avatar cannot exist in the dream world. The most attractive setting for most mortals was the home setting. They reveled in the idea they could create whatever they pleased and lived all their fantasies. The price of using the dream world is different for mortals and cultivators. So, with a deposit and yearly rental, these mortals can use their home and do as they please. Of course, Wang Wei took precautions to prevent the mortals from being addicted to the dream world. Wang Wei watched everything with calm eyes. He saw the mortals playing around in their homes and the extraordinary citizens using this simulation to train their understanding and usage of runes. Meanwhile, the martial artists ran to the battle tower to challenge each other. To be precise, they challenged cultivators. The highest realm of martial arts is defeating a divine altar realm cultivator. However, many martial artists were unsatisfied with this outcome and wanted to defeat a supernatural realm cultivator. According to the information they knew, the limit of a mortal civilization is killing Tier 4 cultivators. However, such a feat requires a large army along with hundreds of war constructs that contain powerful weapons. The martial artists do not want to accept this limit and desire to go higher. Some people even want to create a martial civilization that is on par with the origin cultivation system. After seeing this, Wang Wei shook his head. One way that fate controls most of the world is by limiting the number of cultivators. The limit imposed on this world is people without a leakless body, are mortals and cannot cultivate. As such, martial arts will always be a mortal art with limits and restrictions. Even in worlds where martial arts are the main power system, fate will impose restrictions by granting people with weak bodies, innate deficiencies, poor understanding and many other restrictions. Wang Wei continued his observation. Mortals and cultivators are semi-separated, with each class having its own server. They can interact and get each other's dream imprint to communicate, but after first appearing in the dream world, they will be in different sections. It was a good idea to leave the dream world independent of the Myriad Emperor world, analyzed Wang Wei. Technically speaking, the dream world was not a part of the Myriad Emperor world. In other words, it was not a secret dimension fused to the world. Wang Wei chose to leave the dream world independent of any world, fused to the entire endless void. Such a choice will make it easier for other world communities to enter the dream world. This method will make convincing foreign cultivators to enter and use it easier. Wang Wei no longer paid attention to the dream world and focused on the heavy merit falling from the sky and floating before him. 90% of the merit belonged to him, while the remaining 10% was divided between Dong Lifan and the Eternal Dream Sect. He grinned as he saw the purple merit before him. He knew this was just the beginning. As he continues to develop the dream world and expands it outwards, he will receive more merit to aid in his cultivation. Wang Wei placed the merit away before sending a projection to the core of the dream world, waiting for someone. A few seconds later, Dong Lifan appeared. How was it? Did you have fun being abused by imprint? What do you mean by abuse? I had a haughty battle, she replied with a smile. As long as she does not choose the versions of Wang Wei and Di Tian that have achieved the 10 Supremacy Foundation, she can go all out to fight. Learn something? Many things, she replied. Dong Lifan realized many of her weaknesses. Firstly, she was used to bullying her opponent using higher cultivation. As a result, her battle experience and IQ when compared to the top heaven chosen of Wang Wei's generation, she was far behind. Secondly, because of her lack of battle experience, her application of her Dao was subpar compared to these geniuses, so she needed to make up for the gap. Luckily, it was not too late. She could make up for it with constant battles. Thirdly, she realized she was not ruthless enough. As a ruler, she was ruthless to her enemies and committed countless acts of slaughter. However, she realized she lacked the unique ruthlessness of these heaven chosens, who would do anything for that one opportunity at immortality. Her mind was too calculative, always weighing the pros and cons and unwilling to take necessary risks. Lastly, Dong Lifan realized her foundation was too weak in certain aspects. She lacks knowledge about many secrets and important news. Fortunately, this major weakness is the easiest to fix as the Dao Opening Sect granted her full access to the secret archive. Have you thought about the 9 Extremity and 10 Supremacy Foundation? 9 Extremity is useless to my current state, said Dong Lifan, and Wang Wei agreed. Even if she could condense her incarnations, the best that could happen after the fusion is for her physical body to reach a higher level. After fusing with Great Xia, Dong Lifan has achieved a complete alternative 9-extremity foundation. However, I do want to achieve an alternative 10 supremacy foundation, even trying the path of an immeasurable emperor. Wang Wei nodded. He had high hopes for her to achieve 10 supremacy, but immeasurable emperor? He did not have much confidence, and that's because of the willpower necessary to break the limit and access the Grand Tao source. Dong Lifan already understands 5% of the Grand Tao source because of her status as the founder of the Heavenly King Path. However, she only has the right to borrow the strength of the Grand Tao source, while she needs the right to control it to become the immeasurable emperor. The sect will support you with whatever you want, but you should also understand I cannot directly help you. Dong Lifan nodded as she understood. With Wang Wei's strength, he could easily destroy a heavenward world and have her fuse it with her sea of consciousness, thus achieving the 10 supremacy foundation. However, if he did that, she could foresee backlash and consequences from true heavenly Tao. Therefore, she needed to use her own method while the sect could only be secondary. I understand. Well, I will give you a hint, said Wang Wei as he transferred a piece of information into her mind. Demon supremacy world? Muttered Dong Lifan as she understood her next step. She needed to find the right heavenward world and plan its downfall before conquering it alone. I know what to do. That's good, replied Wang Wei, thinking how good it would be if it were this easy for his father to achieve 10 supremacy. So far, his best idea is for him to re-establish his foundation after proving the Tao, then use the destiny of the ultimate sword Tao to create such a foundation. With Mom protecting him and my backhand, there should be no problem. Wang Wei chatted with Dong Lifan for a while before heading to a formation at the core of the dream world. He looked at the pool full of light of different colors including gold and jade and smiled. He never does any loss-making business. At his core, Wang Wei is a treacherous capitalist, so he will never let any opportunity to get more benefit from passing by him. The final result of this personality trait is this pool, which originated from the dream coins. The people using the dream world must condense the coins using their spiritual power, but where do the coins go after being used for purchase? This place. In the future, I will secretly gather endless spiritual power from cultivators and mortals from the entire lower dimension. After purifying them, I can absorb them to boost my soul and understanding, accelerating my cultivation. He smiled, thinking about his future smooth cultivation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 964 Academy's response. Su Shi returned to the academy, where all the upper echelons waited for her arrival. They had already received the information from the court and needed to discuss how to proceed with the changes in the world. Everyone waited for Su Shi to sit on the main cushion, and they started the discussion as soon as she did. Headmaster, what do you think we should do? Tell me your thoughts first, said Su Shi. Firstly, we need to use all the settings to the fullest extent of their powers, said Song Li, the former headmaster. Our next development step should be cultivating high-level heaven chosen, no matter the cost. Because of the battle tower, they could tell the importance of geniuses to future generations. The heaven competition won't be only about the one chance at proving the Tao. It will also be a battle to gather luck and destiny from across the entire lower dimension. We can use the home setting and Xian to establish something similar to the Tao opening sect's Tao Heart Pagoda. It would be best to cultivate more young emperors. In the past, the world did not emphasize actively tempering the Tao heart, relying more on the inactive concept of Taoism, allowing cultivators to do it on their own until they reached the void-shattering realm. However, things changed in this generation after seeing how the current heavenly emperor became a young emperor after using the pagoda. This process will be easier and cheaper with the dream world's home setting. Before 15 years old, which is the age of cultivation, they can have their disciples and heaven chosens experience countless lives or samsaras, tempering their mind and Tao hearts. This simulation will accelerate the cultivation speed of our disciples and cultivate countless professions. It can also be used to test our and create new techniques, continued Song Li, and everyone nodded with him. In the future, the status of professions will either reach a new height or be lowered because of the number of professions. After all, once something is no longer rare or unique, it decreases in value. However, if the profession associations could take the opportunity when the court began its foreign expansion, they might escape such a fate. Finally, it's the battle tower. I do not need to say more since we can all guess how important this will be. The teachers nodded. A supreme battle for destiny. They will have to fight for the destiny of their faction, their world, and even the human race. We also have to consider the benefit the dream world has to our immortal powerhouses, said another teacher. As long as they are used appropriately, the Academy's overall strength will drastically increase. It's a shame that this fact is true for every faction in the world. Since we plan to cultivate more geniuses, should we unseal the sleeping ones? Asked a teacher. This question is not easy to answer. It's indeed a great opportunity to fight for the destiny on the list. However, doing so will also waste the effort of countless geniuses. The teachers began to discuss this topic. Some agreed to wake up these people, while others disagreed. Ultimately, they had to look at Su Shi to decide. They must awaken, she said. Any particular reason? Asked Song Li, who felt there were some secrets behind this. I minor in Karma Dao, therefore I can condense a few drops of karma washing water. However, the Heavenly Emperor cultivated it as a primary Dao. Do you think he will use it as a reward for the Heaven Chosens in the list? It's the best way to lure foreign factions to wake up their genius and have them compete for the list. Su Shi has figured out some of the Heavenly Emperor's thinking. The latter only wants one thing: the prosperity of his Heavenly Emperor era. As such, the supreme battle of luck most involved every faction in the lower dimension. Additionally, it's also another way to counter the balance mechanism. That's true. If he wants to leave a large quantity of karma washing water to the Dao opening sect, the best way is to ensure his sect is not the only one benefiting from it, said Song Li as realization dawned on him. So who do we wake up? And how many of them? The answer to that question is not easy to answer, said Su Shi. We are the first to use the dream world, giving us an advantage. However, we have to compete with the losers of this generation's battle, along with a genius like Wang Tian. So the competition will be fierce. The teachers frowned. This genius was an ultimate glorious age with one unparalleled genius after another. On top of that, most of them survived the final battle, meaning they could still participate in this feast of luck and destiny. In that case, we need to reanalyze our Heaven Chosens and decide who to awaken, said Song Li. He'll leave everything to you, nodded Su Shi before changing the topic. How are things going with our expansion in the lower realm? Finding other worlds is more difficult than they should, reported Song Li. So far, their academy has only found a few great thousand worlds and more than 10 middle thousand worlds, and that's even with Su Shi's power. How could there be so few? She asked. I suspect someone is purposely hiding them, replied Song Li, making an upward sign with his index finger. Don't make baseless accusations. Not. We have discovered branches of the Dao opening sect in half of the world we discovered. Su Shi frowned, so he was long prepared. Yes, he probably had planned everything more than 100,000 years ago, replied Song Li with a deep sigh. Some people's lives are destined to be legendary, said Su Shi. Continue to find as many worlds as possible. Although I guess the court will assign the god positions in the lower realm, we can still increase our influence if we have branches in these worlds. I will. Su Shi nodded. How are things proceeding with gathering merit? We are still a bit short. If there were a task Song Li wanted to complete as soon as possible, it was to gather enough merit. By then the academy will have an official 9th emperor. In that case we will have to use Plan B, said Su Shi as she took out a dark purple orb. Is this really a good idea? Asked Song Li as he looked at the orb. Su Shi did not answer him. She spent a lot of effort to refine this pure primordial chaos chi, and her plan is to sacrifice it to Heavenly Dao for merit. The world once had chaos chi but never contained primordial chaos chi. As such, her plan will definitely succeed. However, there will also be consequences. The changes that will happen to the world may not necessarily be good for many people or factions. The times are changing and we need to adapt, said Su Shi. Furthermore, the Heavenly Emperor cannot be the only one fundamentally changing the myriad emperor world. Indeed, nodded Song Li. The academy must be one of the great powers of the new, upcoming world and cannot allow its old competitors to dominate everything. Headmaster, do you want to proceed now? Asked a teacher. He did not want to wait any longer for the academy to receive the luck and destiny of the 9th emperor. Now is not the right time, said Su Shi, shaking her head. The Heavenly Emperor is now in the limelight, so it's not a good idea to suddenly take it from him. She understood Wang Wei was not the kind of person to care about such triviality. However, such simple mindfulness acts can prolong the good relationship she had established with him and the Dao opening sect. Since it was simple for her to delay a while, why not do it, especially given the benefits? That's fine. They have been waiting for so long, so why not a few more years? Anyway, the moment the Heavenly Emperor gave them his blessing, it was a foregone decision that things would succeed. The next major change to the world should be the improvement of the origin system, continued Su Shi. We should prepare for this. The teachers nodded in agreement. The environment has recently changed, but many people have already felt the origin system was no longer perfectly suited for the current environment. As such, some people have begun to pursue their own cultivation system or looked at the one from ancient times. However, the top emperor lineages can deduce that the Heavenly Emperor would never allow another system to rise, as the Tao opening sect would lose the Tao Father destiny. So, they were waiting for the update. Lastly, I will soon move to the court, declared Su Shi, and everyone concentrated on her. Some people wanted to advise her otherwise, but they soon realized it was inevitable for this generation's Eternals tier powerhouses to move to the court one day. Isn't it too soon? Asked Song Li. Time waits for no one. He sighed but did not say anything more. Meanwhile, the meeting soon ended, and Su Shi did not waste time entering the dream world. She wanted to use Zin's service. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 965 Rumors Northern Continent. Aoshin returned to the demon tribe and began to establish how they would deal with the upcoming changes in the world. Their approach was not much different from the Emperor Enlightened Academy, with a few changes. The demon race does not have many talented geniuses, so they hope to recruit from outside, specifically from other world communities. The need for more talent provided Aoshin with an opportunity he's been waiting for. For a while now, he wanted to increase the status of the beast race, who are demons with weak bloodlines, since they were animals who gained wisdom and began to cultivate. He recently realized these demon race members had a higher average understanding than the demon race as a whole. This was a trait they had to develop since they could not rely too much on their bloodline. As such, Aoshin believed they were the perfect talent pool to cultivate professions. The demon race is aggressive by nature, and the situation is aggravated since they do not need to temper their state of mind or Tao heart. However, Aoshin decided to make changes and use the home setting in the same way as the academy. Once everything finished, he focused on himself. He had almost made a deal with the Baishi race to allow him to use the star stage. Unfortunately, the asking price of the sea race was too outrageous, almost forcing Aoshin to use force. The Heavenly Emperor is not happy with the sea race. So, right now they should be in a semi-panic state. This is an opportunity for me in this negotiation. Many thoughts flashed in his mind. The best course of action for the sea race is to have an ally, especially one that can serve as their connection to the surface world, and the demon race is the perfect faction to do so. The two factions with Immortal Sovereign can represent the entire sea race. As long as I convince them to form the alliance, it should be easier to pressure the Baishi clan than to help me. I might not even have to pay any price. Aoshin sneered before disappearing from the demon race's territory. Heavenly Court. After checking his little scheme, he exited the dream world and headed to his cultivation room. He headed to a special room that contained a large dark gray ball that seemed to be made of strings. It's so big now, muttered Wang Wei. It seems the mortal civilization was more successful than I anticipated. He smiled as he looked at the large ball. In the cultivation world, something called words and action practice exists, which is a method that many people use to aid in their comprehension of the law or Tao. A perfect example of this method was Wang Wei's destiny incarnation. He controlled the destiny of an entire world, controlling and observing the destiny of all sentient beings in that great thousand world. In the process, his destiny Tao comprehension drastically accelerated. The dark gray ball is the result of this practice. Wang Wei changed the world, thus changing the fate of trillions of people, mortal and cultivator alike. He condensed the energy or power emanating by changing people's fate into this ball. Later on, he will use his fate-dominating physique to absorb it, thus giving him an even greater boost for comprehension of his fate Tao. I cannot wait to change the destiny of the entire lower dimension, thought Wang Wei, who realized he had underestimated the effects of his plans. Once everything is accomplished, he might be able to cultivate all the way to 80% Grand Tao Source. Then, after his ascension, he might use this practice to reach the Paragon realm as quickly as possible while dealing with the parasites. Although there should be some trouble in the process, the end result should be as I predicted. Thought Wang Wei before leaving the room. It was not time to enter seclusion, as it was pointless for him. He could tell that reaching the taboo battle realm by increasing his cultivation was impossible. So, he will focus on accomplishing the taboo realm, thus establishing the best foundation for himself. Wang Wei returned home to see his mother. Is it time? Asked Yu Yan. It is, nodded Wang Wei. According to his original plan, she only needed to leave after Li Jun and Yan Liling proved the Tao, but the plan had to change. Don't worry, I will visit you often. You better, said Yu Yan. How is father? He's having the time of his life. I guess it would be like this, responded Wang Wei as he checked on his father's situation. As expected, he was in the swordsmanship world, fighting all the swordsmen. His incarnation and the heaven chosen that Wang Wei designed for him were still young, so he targeted members of the old generation. Ignore him, said Yu Yan. Let's have dinner. The two chatted over dinner. Afterward, Yu Yan entered a secret dimension of the sect before leaving a few hours later and rushing straight to her family. Aunt, what are you doing here in such a rush? Asked Yu Padian, Wang Wei's cousin and this generation's patriarch of the Yu clan. He had a feeling something bad might have happened. I had an argument with these people, so I will stay here for a while. Is this about my Kaos, I mean the Heavenly Emperor's lack of help to our family? Don't ask about this, I'm already upset. Yu Padian wanted to know more information, but he did not dare violate his aunt's majesty. Are you sure your son is not still angry at our father? Yu Yan looked at his sister, who had walked into the room, and said, Don't talk nonsense. Wire is not the type of person to hold a grudge. Then why couldn't he do a simple grand Tao baptism for us or grant us a few Tao rhymes? Yu Yan frowned. First of all, he owes our family nothing. Secondly, it was my decision to stop him. You only need to wait for me and I will do it for the family. Thirdly, didn't he help the family with the bloodline nourishment? Compared to the benefit of the Wang clan, we barely had any changes. The blood of the Yu clan flows in his vein as much as the Wang clan. Mother, said Yu Padian. Shut up, yelled Yu Daiyu. You might be afraid of him, but am not. Yu Yan sighed. Sister, do you think anyone can bear the destiny that comes with a powerful bloodline? Sometimes, a blessing for someone is a catastrophe for others. Yu Daiyu frowned as her eyes gleamed. It seemed she had thought of something. Then she snorted coldly. All I hear are excuses you are making for him. She walked away from the home, not hiding her dissatisfaction. Meanwhile, Yu Yan was secretly smiling. I guess my effort to secretly brew my sister's animosity was not for nothing. This little act should be more than enough for the deception art. No one could detect the strange lights that often flashed deep in her eyes. I'm sorry, said Yu Padian, smiling wryly. I know it's not your fault. He felt relieved after hearing this. Make sure that the weaker members of the clan do not know about this news or hold any grudge. Don't worry, I already took care of it, he explained. At first there were whispers since no one received the Grand Tao baptism. However, after the mutation in the bloodline and countless talented individuals appearing in the clan, Yu Padian took this opportunity to soothe everything. That's good, nodded Yu Yan before looking in the distance. The plan was not completed until she convinced certain ancestors of the Yu clan. As a weak emperor lineage, there are reasons the Yu clan can survive for so long, and these people are the ones Yu Yan needs to hide the truth from for a while. Arrange a place for me, I will be here for a while. What about my uncle-in-law? He's in retreat, she replied, but soon had to reassure him after seeing his face. We have no problems, I only had some disagreement with the ancestors. That's good. Yu Potion's worst fear was that his aunt's marriage would have problems. As long as she is still married to his uncle-in-law, the clan will have a deep connection to his cousin. Let's go. The clan kept your cultivation pavilion intact, said Yu Padian as he led the way. Tao opening sect. Wang Wei saw everything. There seems to be no problem with the first step, he thought as he observed the secret of heaven and earth. According to his calculations, there should be no problem with his plan. I only need to wait a while and let things marinate. Then she can gather the merit to prove the Tao. Not long after Yu Yan left, the spies of the emperor lineages received the news. Some people even knew the exact conversation she had with her sister and Yu Padian. The Tao opening sect might be impregnable, but it was not the same for the Yu clan. However, no one dared to talk about this subject publicly despite wondering what was going on. However, countless people analyzed or deduced how this change would affect the world. Now let's focus on these forbidden lands, muttered Wang Wei. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 966 The Chrono Chaos Realm's Secret Eye. Wang Wei disappeared before reappearing on top of a small mountain located in the southern continent. This mountain was part of undeveloped land, meaning there were no lives in 100,000 miles in diameter. Wang Wei looked at an old man, this generation's sect master of the Watcher sect. "You came," said the old man calmly, a wise aura emanating from his body. Although he was only in the quasi-emperor realm, he had an otherworldly aura about him, just like he was a supreme powerhouse on par with immortal tier cultivators. "Okay, there's no need for pretense. Everything you do is meaningless since I can see things you cannot fathom." The old man began to cough, almost choking. He had been waiting here for 1,000 years, living every day in fear and worry. He knew the Heavenly Emperor would come to see him one day, but he did not know when. So, he waited, wanting to pretend he had expected the latter for a long time. The old man wanted to curse his inheritance. He should never have listened to them and used this terrible idea to deal with the Heavenly Emperor. Did that senior really bluff a great emperor? Thought the old man, feeling the information passed down by his predecessors was full of lies and fabrications. "What's your name?" asked Wang Wei. "This old man is called Gao Qingkuan." Wang Wei nodded. "Let me see the heaven recording book." Gao Qingkuan hesitated momentarily before summoning the Emperor artifact and handing it over. Wang Wei did not hesitate to look at the most recent page. As expected, it recorded every event that has happened in the past 1,000 years since the birth of the Heavenly Emperor era. He even saw records of certain battles between Eternal Tier's powerhouses. Soon, his pupils shrunk as he saw a note about his attack on the battle spirit world. "It seems that I underestimated this thing," thought Wang Wei as he analyzed it closer. He soon realized the uniqueness of this artifact. It gathered the destiny of the myriad emperor world. Recording accurate and unbiased history is necessary for any advanced civilization, and the Watcher sect is the faction that amassed the destiny for such an achievement. Something tells me the creator of this book was not interested in luck, destiny, or merit. They created this book for an entirely different purpose. Wang Wei frowned as he tried to divine something. However, an intense amount of chaotic time energy always blocked his sight at the last minute. "Now I have proof this thing is related to the Chrono Chaos realm." Wang Wei flipped the page and swiftly read the entire world's history, from the ancient emperor era to the current time. This book was of great help to him, allowing Wang Wei to make up the gap in certain areas that the sleepers never recorded for various reasons. However, he noticed two interesting things from this book. Their record did not start before my ancestors started the ancient emperor era. The very first sentence of this book was about Qiyuan's proving the Tao. However, the first and only emperor of the Watcher sect did not prove the Tao after more than 30 generations after Qiyuan. The second noteworthy aspect of this book was that it was missing some pages, some pieces of history. "Why are there missing pages?" asked Wang Wei directly. "Over the years, a few people have noticed our existence," Gao Qingkuan sighed. He thought their sects were well hidden, and no Eternal ever discovered them, but he was wrong. After realizing his identity was revealed, Gao Qingkuan panicked and did not know how to deal with the situation. So, he remembered the advice the book gave him after the first time he became this generation's leader. So, without hesitation, he consulted his inheritance, which contains the wisdom and experiences of all past Watchers. He learned from them a few secrets he was not privy to prior. "Oh, who else discovered you?" The first one was someone from the Tao burial ground. "Them?" "Yes. Someone came to our sect and erased some knowledge from our records, and killed that generation's Watcher. Luckily, the Heaven Record book escaped, and no one came for us afterward." Wang Wei frowned after hearing this. He wondered what the rats in the Tao burial ground wanted to hide. However, now was not the time to get to the bottom of this mystery. The second person should be an Eternal Emperor. "What's with the uncertainty?" "According to our record, this information is only a deduction or analysis," explained Gao Qingkuan. "So, who was the one to visit?" The old man did not immediately answer but asked, "Do you know there were 2 extra Eternal Emperors in our world that should have fallen?" "I'm aware." After first knowing about Di Tian's life experience, Wang Wei deduced that the 2 people Di Tian lost to and did not have any recollections of should be dead Eternal Emperors. "One of them should be responsible for our missing records," explained Gao Qingkuan. "And my predecessors believed that person's cause of death was our sect." After hearing this information, Wang Wei swiftly placed a few pieces of information together. Assuming he's telling the truth, could the Eternal Emperor have died because of pursuing whatever secret lies in the Chrono Chaos realm? Wang Wei was suddenly interested. "Let me borrow this book for a while." He disappeared from the mountain and Gao Qingkuan breathed in relief. I made the right choice by not resisting and telling the truth. Wang Wei headed directly to the Chrono Chaos realm. He entered without hesitation, heading directly to the core. The process was both easy and difficult. As soon as he arrived, he discovered whoever created this place had a better or higher understanding of time Dao than him. Furthermore, there was so much time energy in this place that the entire realm acted like an immortal sovereign's energy dominance. He found it difficult to teleport in this place, so he had to fly to the core. However, the deeper he went, the scarier the power this forbidden land contained. By the time he reached the center, this place contained the power to kill great emperors with 55% Grand Dao source. Wang Wei flew to a white light, and in a blank of an eye, he found himself in all white space. He saw two people sitting at the center with a third empty cushion. He gazed at the two individuals, two men dressed in white robes, looking identical. His first thought was they were twins, but he soon removed that idea upon closer observation. These people are the same individual, each from a different period of time, he concluded. The young man on the right exuded a carefree yet desolate temperament. He was like a man who had suffered tremendously but saw through the essence of life and achieved enlightenment. The one on the left was full of anger and unwillingness. His eyes indicated an unwavering desire. I've seen these eyes before. They're the eyes of a man whose obsession has reached an unimaginable level. Di Tian had similar eyes. Fellow Taoist, said the man on the left, inviting Wang Wei to the empty seat. Wang Wei did not have any hesitations as he sat before them. He did not sense any killing intention or animosity. Furthermore, he already knew this person's power level, 43% Grand Dao source. However, with the Chrono Chaos Zone, even someone with 55% Grand Dao source and above might suffer in this person's hand. How may I address, fellow Taoist? Asked Wang Wei as he sat down. In the olden days, people called us the Time Monarch, said the man on the right. Now you can refer to us as Jianghu. Wang Wei nodded, deducing the identity of these two. He guessed he should be some eternal emperor who lived during the war. However, he seemed to be in a strange state. Brother Ji, my name is... We know who you are, Sir Heavenly Emperor, said the man on the right. We saw all the changes that have occurred in the world since your ascension. The two sighed simultaneously. They have lived in what could be described as the most brilliant era of the myriad emperor world. However, in all their lives, they have never seen a genius as talented or unique as this fate-dominating emperor. Before you came, we were discussing how much easier the war would have been if you lived in our era, said the left Jianghu. Yes, the human and acquired life would not have to pay so much to win the war, and so many lives could have been saved. Wang Wei felt there was a hidden meaning behind these words. However, he did not immediately ask. I'm glad you two can think so highly of me. I would have also liked to live in that era, fighting side by side with my ancestor for the survival and glory of the human race and all other acquired lives. Yes, but it's a pity. Maybe not. Maybe he would not have been so excellent if born in the wrong era, countered Jianghu on the right. Such a talent would shine wherever he was born. As the saying goes, gold will always shine even when surrounded by dirt. Wang Wei calmly smiled after hearing these compliments. He could tell the one on the right was sincere while the one on the left had a hidden agenda. Thank you for the high praise, but let's get back to the main topic, said Wang Wei. I came here to get some answers about this place. If fellow Taoists could enlighten me, I would greatly appreciate it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 967 The Chrono Chaos Realm's Secret 2. The two Jianghu paused momentarily before the one on the left said, Our story is a cliché one. It began in ancient times, near the end of the war. Wang Wei calmly listened. Although he had much information, some knowledge especially during the Null Era eluded him. These two people's stories allow him to learn many secrets of heaven and earth. Have you heard the saying that the human emperor invented the first fortune dynasty? Asked Jianghu on the right, and Wang Wei nodded. This fact is partially true. Our human race had long discovered the power of luck and destiny. However, the history of the human race has made it increasingly difficult to unite as one dynasty. The white room changed, and Wang Wei soon found himself sitting in the air with the others next to him. Below him was a group of humans dressed in animal hides. Everyone looked primitive, but Wang Wei did not think so. These hides mostly belonged to powerful creatures that existed in ancient times, so the fashion was different compared to the modern era. The concept of a sect was extremely weak in that era as most people lived in tribes, continued Jianghu on the right. Humans were scattered worldwide and living in tribes was a way to survive. After your ancestor invented the primordial god system, he secretly spread it to different tribes. If there was someone who had a high chance of uniting the human tribes and becoming the first ruler of a fortunate dynasty, it was your ancestor. However, the human race was too weak and needed a low-key development. Wang Wei nodded. If the innate demon gods knew the human race banded together while also having a potent cultivation system, they would have noticed them earlier and done whatever was needed to eradicate the human race. So, he agreed with his ancestors' approach. Simultaneously, he knew the downside of such a development process. After the heaven-opening emperor proved the Tao, he had the strength to gather many human tribes together. However, he was under the eye of countless six-star primarchs, so he could not gather everyone in one group. Additionally, he felt it was too dangerous for all humans to be in place in case something happened. This was a wise move, added the left-side Jianghu. The human race's ancestral hall was attacked many times, almost becoming extinct on a few occasions. If the elders did not leave outside tribes to use as backup, we would have lost the war long ago. The two sighed in tandem. It was odd how perfectly in sync they were. The tribal system was necessary for the human race's survival. However, it soon showed its downside. By the time our race could stand toe-to-toe with the innate demon gods, creating a central power system, the different tribal leaders were too powerful and could not easily give up their power. The heaven-opening emperor had the strength and prestige to become the new ruler. However, some people still opposed him. Ultimately, he decided that such contradictions could lead to civil war among the human race, so he adopted a council system with different tribal leaders. Wang Wei did not know much about the heaven-opening emperor's decision, but he was aware of the human race's council. This is where we come into the story, continued Jianghu on the right. Our Ji tribe was one of the most powerful in that area. After I proved the Tao using a mighty Tao like time, our power reached a new height. The two sighed. Sadly, this is where our misfortune began. The two did not say anything for a few seconds, so Wang Wei remained quiet. Time Monarch, uttered the left Jianghu. The name implied the dominance of time Tao, but there is a hidden meaning. Can you guess? The monarch part is an indication of your ambitions, replied Wang Wei calmly. Exactly. We wanted to unite the human race into the first unified dynasty, the Great Ji dynasty. A terrifying aura emanated from left side Jianghu's body, making the picture of ancient times tremble and crack. Luckily, the other one touched Jianghu's shoulder, calming him down. We acted on our ambitions. We wooed countless tribes and spread our ideologies. Right, Jianghu sighed. Honestly, our chances of succeeding were minuscule. However, we were lucky to meet a woman with unparalleled talent, my wife, Ji Suin. As he said these words, the vision changed, and Wang Wei saw a scene of Jianghu talking to a beautiful woman with a black dress, a white fox fur coat around her shoulder, and a red cinnamon bar on her forehead. She was advising Jianghu on managerial affairs. She was undoubtedly the best tactical mind of that era, continued Jianghu. Under her guidance, my empty and unrealizable dreams slowly materialized. Both Jianghu looked at her with love, doting, and regret. Everything proceeded smoothly until that day. Your Majesty, can you guess what happened? Your actions were exactly what my ancestors feared. So, the human council attacked and slaughtered you and your tribe, replied Wang Wei calmly. The two quieted down before Jianghu on the left said, 3 billion tribe members and not a single one survived, including her. Everything we dreamed and hoped for, gone in a single moment, continued the other one. So, what happened next? And why do I not feel any resentments from you toward the council or the human race? Asked Wang Wei. After so many years, we've realized this was the best option. Otherwise, the human race would have destroyed itself in a civil war. Even if there were a final winner, we would not have survived the attack from the innate demon gods, explained Jianghu on the right. Wang Wei nodded. He felt that Jianghu was telling the truth, but the other one still had some hidden or residual bitterness/resentment. I survived the war, said right side Jianghu. With her sacrifice I survived, but I wished I did not. Leaving without her was the greatest karmic suffering, especially since he had to live with the fact he caused her death. After I survived, I lived for only one purpose: to make up for what happened that day. Wang Wei secretly sighed as he knew the impossible tasks Jianghu faced. As an eternal emperor who controls time Tao, it should be easy to revive these dead people. But that was far from the truth. The people who attacked that day were all great emperors and eternals, meaning the existence of all the people in the Ji tribe was erased. After years of research, trials and errors and luck, I finally succeeded. Can you guess how? Asked right side Jiwu. You isolated a moment in time from the river of time, a moment where all your tribe members and her were still alive, explained Wang Wei. The other version of you is the one from that moment while you're real Jiwu. That's correct, nodded right side Jiwu, and Wang Wei took out the Heaven Record book. You created this book not to record historical events but to use the concept of history to gather time energy. Yes, acknowledged both Jiwu. How exactly did you succeed in separating that moment in time? Asked Wang Wei, not hiding his doubt. Logically speaking, these people could not be revived even through time Dao since great emperors transcend time, so it should be impossible unless Jiwu becomes an Empyrean or Paragon. Wang Wei had a similar experience when he tried to revive the dead people from his science and technology world after the hooded figure from the deception trial attacked him with numerous great emperors. Near the end of the war, the river of time was chaotic and more malleable. So, I took this opportunity to succeed. Wang Wei had a pondering look. Usually, every major event in the lower dimension is connected one way or the other with something happening in the upper dimension, so it should be the same for the acquire innate war. So, the chaos of the river of time was probably because something was happening. Unfortunately, he did not know what it was. Your plan is crazy enough, continued Wang Wei, who figured out what Jiwu wanted to do. Separating the moment in time was only the first step. This time Monarch wanted to change the past and save these dead people. Otherwise they would be stuck in that moment and could not even leave the Chrono Chaos realm. The gathering of chaotic time energy is probably to cause a second chaos in the river of time, thus giving them an opportunity to fundamentally alter the past and history of the myriad emperor world and save the Ji tribe. Your Majesty, what do you think? Can our plan succeed? You obviously already know the answer, replied Wang Wei. Great emperors, especially those who controlled time Dao, should be able to alter the past, present, and future. Unfortunately, this world is high-dimensional with strict rules, regulations, and restrictions. Sadly, the rules indicate that only paragons can barely alter the past, but they must also be limited to small events. We are aware of our lack of ability, said left side Jiwu. We were hoping your Majesty could have another way. I may have an idea, uttered Wang Wei. But why should I help? What can I get out of this situation? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 968 Other Self. The two Jiwus looked at each other. Left side Jiwu did not hide his excitement. After so many years, so many nights spent in despair, he finally saw hope. Meanwhile, right side Jiwu was surprised. After so many years, he had almost accepted what had happened. If not for his other self's obsession, he might have left this place long ago, leaving his own life. But since he also had an opportunity, he would not hesitate to take it. After all, he also wanted to see her again. They glanced back at Wang Wei. Your Majesty, what do you have in mind? They knew they had little to offer, but since the Heavenly Emperor asked, he must have something they wanted. At this point, they were willing to sacrifice their lives for such an opportunity. I want two things, said Wang Wei. Firstly, I want you to condense all your understanding of time Dao into a Dao seed to help me cultivate. Please, put your memory of the experience of watching the chaotic river of time and how you separated that moment of time. This time Monarch had a higher understanding of time Dao than him, so he wanted to get the latter's comprehension. As long as he studies it, his fate Dao will also make progress. Additionally, it's a unique experience to watch the river of time becoming chaotic, so Wang Wei wanted to learn from it. That's easy to do, said right side Jiwu before waving his hand to condense a green crystal shining with Dao rhymes. Excellent, said Wang Wei as he held the Dao seed in his hand. He checked it with his divine sense and could feel that comprehending time Dao from this crystal is 100 times easier than directly doing so from the grand Dao source. The second thing I want is the Heaven Recording Book, continued Wang Wei. To be precise, I want the destiny connected to being the myriad emperor world's history recorder. Qiyuan opened the ancient emperor era, and the Dao opening sect is the first emperor lineage of the post-null era. As such, the destiny of the history keeper or watcher matches very well with the sect. Therefore, Wang Wei would not waste an opportunity to increase the sect's destiny and luck, especially since they were such a unique destiny. Wang Wei always liked to prepare for the future or for the worst-case scenario. He can predict countless future generations with his time and fate Dao and intelligence. As such, he knew his heavenly emperor era would not be eternal and would eventually be destroyed. Such a moment will be the most dangerous time for the Tao opening sect. The collapse of the era will also be the perfect time for true heavenly Tao to use the balance mechanism to destroy the Tao opening sect. Wang Wei does not know whether he will already achieve half-step transcendence by then, so he needs to prepare for this eventuality. The best way to do so is to grant his sect unique destinies that could protect them. The destiny of the innate environment, of the heavenly court, of the dream world, of the mortal civilizations, of the new cultivation system, of the revival of the innate demon gods, and now, the destiny of being a history watcher. All of them will serve as a protective umbrella for the Tao opening sect. As long as your idea can help us change what happens, it's not a problem to hand this thing to you, said left side Jiwu. Very well, nodded Wang Wei, who no longer hesitated. Changing the past in our timeline is impossible, so you must travel to another parallel universe and change things there. Parallel timelines, muttered right side Jiwu. Lightsenval. Xiaomicron. This was the first time he heard these words, but with his time Tao, he only took a moment to understand their meaning. Every fork of destiny, of every choice, leads to an entirely new universe where things are different. If we can find a timeline where we save the Ji tribe, it will indeed be a way to revive them. But, would these members be our people? Asked left side Jiwu. Even though the members from the other timeline looked the same as his people, there were still slight differences. A small part of him cannot accept that. You don't have to worry about that. You only need to fuse the moment in time you've isolated with the new timeline, replacing these people with your people, added Wang Wei, who expected their reservation. Left side Jiwu's eyes lit up after hearing this. It's a good way to deal with this issue. Alright, let's not waste time, said right side Jiwu. What's our next step? I will use the chaotic time energy in this place to open a small path through the river of time. You have to take this opportunity to leave this timeline, explained Wang Wei. You will only have a short window of opportunity, do not waste it. We understand. Wang Wei nodded before immediately nodding. He activated his Emperor artifact to turn into a crystal that fused with his forehead. He followed his actions by activating all his Grand Tao boosts, ensuring his strength reached the peak of 69.9% Grand Tao source. Finally, 365 figures appeared behind Wang Wei, all pulsating with the power of time. His future Buddha selves arranged themselves in a circular array, each controlling a vast quantity of chaotic time energy. Bang! The entire myriad Emperor world trembled as a magnificent river appeared above the sky. As all sentient beings gazed at the river, they saw their birth, youth, old age and death in a single moment. This fact pertained to everyone, including cultivators and immortal tier powerhouses. The river of time. These words appeared in the minds of every sentient being, even babies who have yet to form their cognitive abilities. Afterward, the people saw the world's history from the chaos era to the present. However, the process was so fast that even the best insurgents could not remember much. A shining light rushed from the Chrono Chaos realm to enter the river of time. This river, which displayed an ancient aura unmatched by anything in the universe, this river, which should be the embodiment of remaining calm and unchanging throughout eternity, fluctuated. Such an act meant nothing to most sentient beings, but this was a shocking scene for the people who knew it. Chrono Chaos realm. After Wang Wei used the chaotic time energy to fluctuate the river of time, his job was not finished. The next step was to divine the perfect timelines for Jiwu. Luckily, he had their cooperation, so he could use the karma attached to their bodies to do his job. Now, yelled Wang Wei as he sent a coordinate to their mind. The two Jiwus did not hesitate as they rushed into the river of time, heading to the exact space of the fluctuation. As soon as they arrived at their destination, the two fused before disappearing. Meanwhile, Wang Wei was distracted as he watched everything. His soul seemed to have left his body and traveled through the river of time. He saw the thing was also composed of countless strings similar to the river of fate. However, these strings were not the fate lines of all sentient beings in the chaos universe. Each of them was a different timeline. The infinite trichiliocosm, muttered Wang Wei as he finally knew the official name of this world's multiverse. While in this strange state, Wang Wei suddenly felt he had a deep connection to one of the strings. He glanced at it and saw something. He saw one of his other self. In this timeline, his cultivation was quite mediocre, at least by his current standard. He did not awaken the memories from his past life, so he only had to rely on his sealed paragon soul and high comprehension. As such, he had to struggle against the likes of Han Li for the position of Sacred Son. Many of the unparalleled geniuses of his generation were mediocre, like Tong Ruobing and Mo Xingyun, And even Huafeng Huang was not as powerful since she did not have all 5 bloodlines. Huang Yuang died in the lower realm, and his wife was the one with the life and death book. Song Xiaoxi was mediocre and died in the hands of the Baishi clan. Ji Song was alive and was a top contender in this generation. Jian Wushuang never met Daiji and competed in the final battle. Shi Fuyu never swallowed Feng Heng but became his mentor. Lin Fan never walked the path of the greater chaos and survived until the end. He was still with Su Shi. Su Yu also never had any connection to him and she also made it to the end. Sun Jiaolong used the human destiny sword to become a top contender. Fang Lijuan from the Divine Dao League never broke through the restrictions of her bloodline, so she became mediocre but she still survived. Lu Meishio with the myriad beast physique and her ruthlessness, became a top contender. Ao Shin still went to the martial hegemony world, but he never returned so Wang Wei concluded he probably died. Wu Ming was an insignificant individual since he never received Wang Wei's ideas, so he never joined the Origin Rune Palace and created chaos there. Yin Zhen and Yi Liangxing never appeared in this generation, and Jingwu Hua died in the civil war of the Golden Crow clan, losing the opportunity to absorb her father's emperor bone. The upper dimension spies never showed up. Wang Wei guessed the parasites did not care for the lower dimension in that timeline so they probably only observed and did not interfere much. Wang Wei watched his life in that timeline. His rise only began after the void-shattering realm and his participation in the slaughter trial. Afterward, he awakened the memories from his past life, showing even more extraordinary abilities. It was the key that allowed him to pass the outlaw trial for his life and death Dao. Sadly it was useless. Di Tian easily slaughtered everyone during the final battle, and he was lucky to survive and run away. The entire thing could be described as a fiasco. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 969 Message After losing the battle, his other self took time to recuperate, preparing to seal himself in bloodstone and compete for the future Heaven Will battle. However, tragedy soon came knocking on his door. Di Tian visited the Heaven Mystery Pavilion and had Old Man Chu divine the best way for him to revive his wife. Under the blessing of his power, Old Man Chu directed him to Wang Wei the memories of his past life, to be specific. Di Tian immediately visited the Dao opening sect. At first he was cordial, asking for an exchange of profit for these memories. But Wang Wei was adamant. His memories from Earth were one of his greatest secrets, and he was not prepared to tell anyone. Additionally, his intuition warned him something terrible would happen if he gave Di Tian his memories. The Dao opening sect supported his decision, even after Di Tian, the 9 Samsara Emperor, became hostile. A great battle transpired. Sadly, Di Tian was not a normal eternal emperor. Although Di Tian did not find Empyrean 9 Pillar and acquired his inheritance, he was still an eternal who succeeded in establishing his 9 Extremity Foundation. The battle only lasted a year. To be precise, the Dao opening sect survived 1 year under Di Tian's power, rapidly consuming its foundation. The entire Myriad Emperor world watched as the most powerful sect in the world and one of the oldest died in a matter of a year. Wang Wei watched his other self experiencing this event. During the entire war he was powerless and was protected. He often asked to be sent to the battlefield. At times he wanted to relent and give Di Tian what he wanted. However, his father and mother would refuse. The sect's ancestors did not give up and chose to fight to their last breath. As such, he watched Origin 1, Sword 1, Desolate 1, Ancestor Wuqing, Miscellaneous 1, his father, grandfather, and mother they all died one by one until he was the last one remaining. Wang Wei watched as his other self watched Di Tian with hatred before exploding his soul. Finally he saw how the latter chased him into samsara. Luckily, Old Man Nether intervened since he treated Di Tian as his pawn to control samsara in the lower dimension. After his reincarnation he was born in a Heaven Will world called Pursuing Longevity World. Although he had the lowest grade of talent in that world, first grade spirit root, this fact could not stop him. His other self used knowledge from his previous life to make up for his talent. He also combined the 2 cultivation systems, allowing him to cultivate an even better DE realm than his previous life. Finally, during the Heaven Will battle, as the only individual in the world who wields the power of law, he slaughtered everyone and became an Immortal Emperor, or Great Emperor. Wang Wei calmly watched his other self, a suave and handsome young man with flowing red hair. However, his eyes and aura displayed extreme gloominess, hatred, and a sense of self-destruction. Wang Wei continued to watch his other self's journey. However, things became a little blurry after he ascended to the upper dimension. Wang Wei could tell the Eternal Ascension world was experiencing a terrifying war. However, he could not see the exact details. However, he saw some of his other self's experiences. He saw his first meeting with Wu Hong while they were stuck in a secret realm. She was besieged by countless people and forced into this secret realm, which was prepared especially to exile her. Meanwhile, Wang Wei, who was looking for opportunities to increase his cultivation, entered that place by accident. In some ways, their meeting could be said to be fated. Wu Hong's strange eyes after they first met prove he was correct, they were fated to meet. After escaping the secret realm, Wang Wei used the chaos of the upper dimension to ruthlessly gather resources, killing and destroying numerous sects or factions in the process. His actions garnered him too many enemies, so he was constantly on the run. Luckily, Wu Hong would often come to his rescue, and in the process she became the only person in this world who could warm up his cold heart. As for the other ancestors in the upper dimension, Wang Wei did not see any interactions between his other self and them because of how blurry many things were. However, he could feel the latter's extreme hatred of them for not preventing the sect's destruction or even avenging it. After becoming an Empyrean, his other self finally accomplished his revenge. In the process, his mind went to a dark place and Tian suffered for it. Endless emptiness and loneliness, thought Wang Wei as his soul synchronized with his other self. These two emotions were intense, reaching the level of overwhelming the mind. Soon the situation turned worse. His other self used his power to create all the members of his sects, including his family. However, such an act did not bring him any joy. On the contrary, it drove him to a deeper abyss of despair. He knew these creations were not the people he longed to see even in his deepest dreams, and such a fact tore apart his Tao heart and drove him to the edge. So he decided to end all his suffering. He gave up all his goals and ambitions to become free and unfettered. He no longer cared about his regret of not seeing his family back on Earth one last time and chose to end everything. No, something is wrong, thought Wang Wei as he looked and felt how his other self was. With my willpower, how could I give up so easily? His goal is to achieve ultimate freedom, and once he succeeds, isn't it easy to revert what had happened to his family and sect? So, such a setback should not bring him to this level of despair. Wang Wei frowned as he continued to watch. Wu Hong showed up at his lowest point but did not prevent him from sinking too deep. She cared for him during this time and they truly fell in love. Is this the power of fate? I needed to reach such a low before my relationship with Wu Hong could be confirmed. Or is it something different? Of all the explanations his mind came up with, he thought this one was the best, followed by the fact that his future self battle with Grand Tao has reached the point of affecting all timelines, and Grand Tao used extreme depression to get rid of some versions of himself. This deduction seems like vital information, thought Wang Wei as he felt he might have caught an inspiration. Sadly, it was fleeting and he could not think what it was no matter what he tried. Without much of a choice, he focused on what happened next. After this event, his other self chose to leave the Eternal Ascension world, which seems arduous despite how blurry the entire event was. However, Wang Wei understood why he did it. He had become one of Wu Hong's weaknesses in this chaotic time, so leaving was the best way to protect her and himself. Wang Wei did not see his other self's adventures in another chaos world. The next scene he experienced was when he returned to the Eternal Ascension world. He saw the love of his life being besieged by countless individuals. So, they team up and he uses his new fate Tao to kill many people that day. After that, this strange experience ended, and he no longer saw his other self's journey. Wang Wei floated above the river of time with many thoughts rushing through his mind. So, why am I seeing this? Why this timeline of all the infinite ones? He uttered, and surprisingly he received an answer. This timeline used to be the prime timeline? Used to be? Meaning it's no longer? Wait, who's speaking? Wang Wei looked around until he saw something in the distance, another him. He had the same handsome face, gray hair, and eyes that seemed to know all the universe's secrets. Although the man looked exactly like him, Wang Wei could still notice some difference. Firstly, that version seemed ancient, indicating how old he was. Secondly, he could feel the entire river of time trembling under this person's feet. Worthy of future me, said Wang Wei with a smile. He knew he could observe so many things about this being because he allowed it, not because of his ability. So why are you here? Once you reach the peak, go revisit the origin, said the other Wang Wei before disappearing as if he never existed in the first place. What does that mean? Uttered Wang Wei with a speechless look. Could it be that everyone who can divine the secrets of heaven and earth must act and speak in such a mysterious manner? Wang Wei shook his head. These words can be interpreted in too many ways. So he decided to ponder them later. He would most likely know their meanings when the opportune time arrived. Before then, it would probably be useless to dwell too much on it. Well, this experience has been riveting. He disappeared from the river of time and opened his eyes in the Chrono Chaos realm. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 970 next. The Tao Burial Ground Primordial Chaos, Red Mist Forbidden Land. Heavenly Book opened his eyes and his book floated before him. Another time nexus? So soon? More words appeared in his book, but he was not happy. He had this foreboding feeling that time was not on his side. By the time this book is finished, only a few time nexuses might be left. This is probably not an accident. Someone is delaying the creation of the Heavenly Book to prevent me from interfering. He never expected things to go smoothly, but he did not expect his plan to be so difficult. Heavenly Book closed the book, knowing time was running out. His highest priority now is to find something that Madman Chu is interested in so he can exchange with him. Sadly, such a task is more difficult than it sounds. Although Chu Yun was crazy, he was still an unparalleled genius, meaning few things in the Chaos Universe interested him enough for an exchange. Currently, Heavenly Book has a few ideas and leads, but nothing concrete as of yet. Of all these things, which is the easiest to get and will interest him? Countless thoughts flashed in his mind as he soon got the answer: the origin of Buddhism. Heavenly Book waved his hand to send a few talismans before creating another clone and sending it somewhere. Eternal Ascension World, Upper Dimension, before the Dark Truth. Maitreya opened her eyes and gazed in the distance. She felt a slight turbulence in the river of time. She was extremely sensitive to this change because she had been trying to prevent it for years. The reason she allied with Supreme Unity in the first place was because she did not want any fluctuation from the river of time, but when cultivators first enter the Paragon realm for the first time, the river will fluctuate immensely. Her flawed method of transcendence did not allow such variations, so she accepted Supreme Unity's plan. However, now that she had stabilized her realm, her strength not only went a small step forward but also no longer cared about any distractions or fluctuations. On the contrary, she wanted the old world to return. She wanted the golden era to once again grace the world. Only in this way can many people discuss the Tao together, finding a real method of transcendence. Sadly, Supreme Unity let power get into his head. Maitreya looked at him from the corner of her eyes. The latter had noticed the fluctuations, but he only briefly opened his eyes. Twin Flower has not responded after so long, so he must have taken action. Is this retribution? Maitreya secretly sighed before observing the world. In an instant she saw every corner of this infinite universe. As long as these people are removed and the world returns to its prosperous time, true heavenly Tao will be strengthened and have the ability to fight against Supreme Unity. By then, his fate would be to drop down to the Paragon realm or die. However, things will not be so simple. She could tell a terrible war was about to cover this world. Time Eater will be the greatest variable in the early stages. Maitreya's eyes pierced through the river of time, gazing at the infinite timelines. He knew what Time Eater's plan was. As early as when she left the ultimate taboo, the latter came to ask him permission to travel to the infinite trichiliocosm. Maitreya refused, and this act was the catalyst that pushed Time Eater to Supreme Unity's side. However, she could also see he was ambitious and only served whoever could benefit him. With him, things should be fine, thought Maitreya as she checked on the lower dimension. She sensed a tremendous change occurring there and secretly smiled. The lower dimension's prosperity will immensely help true heavenly Taoist battle against Supreme Unity. As such, she will protect Wang Wei and ensure no one interferes in his plan. Once Supreme Unity is remotely weakened, she will attack. Maitreya frowned as she looked at the peaceful Supreme Unity. She felt he was about to make a grand move, which would be very detrimental to her side. Eternal Ascension World, Lower Dimension, Myriad Emperor World, Chrono Chaos Realm. Wang Wei exhaled deeply, trying to calm down and analyze this experience. He learned a few things during this brief visit to the River of Time. Firstly, and most importantly, he officially confirmed his future self is involved in some shenanigans that involved messing with time. He only had speculation before today but now had proof for his theory. It's good I have such a bright future. However, the future is ever-changing, and messing with time is a pain that could lead to catastrophic results. Wang Wei could guess the trouble his future self would bring him. Out of nowhere, some powerful enemy from the future could pop up and kill his weak self. I'm sure my future self put in place the necessary precautions, but if something goes wrong, I will be screwed. Wang Wei had a headache because things were no longer out of his control. He was involved in an intricate chess game, but the current him was not the chess player playing. In other words, his objective is to grow and become that chess player. Then there is the issue of the changed timeline, he continued. Switching an entire timeline is not something even Maitreya and Supreme Unity can do unless they isolate the entire Eternal Ascension world and not let it affect the rest of the Chaos Universe. Wang Wei's brow furrowed deeply as he contemplated the implications behind this discovery. Who switched the timeline? Was it me or someone else? How strong is the future me half-step transcendence or a true transcendent? Wang Wei deduced the possibility that the half-step transcendence realm might be more vast than expected, with many levels or stages. If that's true, the difference between each stage might be larger than a normal ant and a peak boundless paragon. Wang Wei finished his analysis and stored the information deep in his mind. Finally, he focused on the Chrono Chaos realm. Jianghu left this timeline, fusing with another version of himself in another timeline, leaving this place without any owner. Although there is no longer any chaotic time energy, this place might be useful, muttered Wang Wei as he thought of something. Heskin the area with his divine sense. It has been baptized by chaotic time energy, making it the perfect base for the void battlefield. Wang Wei had already sent news to Sword One in the Commerce Hub to look out for certain treasures needed to create the unique void battlefield. But now he had a better idea. The void battlefield must be able to withstand my fight with Old Man Nether, so the best way I can think to create it is to nourish it with the power of nothingness. If he could create a place filled with nothingness, no matter how much Empyrean power he used in the upcoming battle, the void battlefield would not crumble. Wang Wei no longer hesitated as he condensed a large quantity of nothingness, fusing it with the Chrono Chaos realm. As expected, after being nourished by so much time and energy, the power of nothingness cannot immediately destroy it. On the contrary, it makes it easier to fuse. Since he did not have to worry about death or the collapse of his body, Wang Wei could condense as much power of nothingness as he wished using his void stage fleshly body as the medium. As such, he refined this realm into a pocket dimension full of nothingness power in a very short period. Excellent, commented Wang Wei as he stood up. He punched the air using all his strength. However, he soon frowned as he saw the few cracks scattered on the side. It's not completed yet, he uttered. I need to continue nourishing it while also finding something to serve as the core. Only then would it be ready. His strength has not crossed that boundary, but he can still leave cracks in this place. It's not ready yet. After nourishing it for a while, I can take it for a test. Wang Wei waved his hand to create a clone, leaving it here to continue refining the Chrono Chaos realm. He exited this place and headed home. Of course, the Chrono Chaos realm disappeared from the world, making people know the Heavenly Emperor had conquered another forbidden land. Wang Wei returned home and summoned Gao Chengquan. He opened the Watcher Pavilion in the sect, appointing the former leader of the Watcher sect as the Pavilion Master. From now on, the Dao Opening sect has another lineage. Each generation, the Watcher Pavilion will choose someone to inherit the position, keeping a record of the world's history. This new lineage has no power in the sect, and the chosen heirs will not participate in the Heavenward battle. However, it's still an important lineage to the sect due to the luck and destiny it provides. After settling everything, Wang Wei checked on the dream world. After realizing everything was proceeding smoothly, he went for his next target, the Dao Burial Ground. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 971 Marvelous Inheritance. Wang Wei took a step and appeared in another world community. With a single thought, he scanned the entire community before frowning. These people really know how to hide. With his current strength, he could not discover the whereabouts of the Dao Burial Ground even though he knew they were in this position. So, he no longer hesitated and activated the mark his wife left on their hideouts, immediately discovering a special dimension. Is this a chaos treasure? Thought Wang Wei as he saw the whereabouts of the Dao Burial Ground. It seems to be a peak chaos treasure, almost reaching the level of a supreme innate treasure. Wang Wei's eyes lit up as he realized another benefit of dealing with this forbidden land. He took one step and entered this place. As he looked around, the first idea that popped into his head was that this place resembled his sect's sealing area. The second thought is this place has too much resentment and grievances. How many lives have these guys killed and for what purpose? He always wondered about this forbidden land's purpose of slaughtering countless lives. It made no sense for them to do it for cultivation. Although great emperors do not care about the karma of slaughtering mortals, the resentments and obsessions left in flesh and blood are a terrible tonic for cultivation. No matter how many lives they kill, their cultivation will slowly increase. The best option would be to kill immortal tier powerhouses instead of these weak mortals. Do they have a special source technique that uses flesh and blood or negative karma? Wang Wei shook his head. He would soon find the answer, so there was no point in pondering their motives. He looked at the countless coffins sleeping in this place. With so many immortal venerables, Dao ancestors and great emperors, this place could have conquered the entire myriad emperor world with relative ease. Wang Wei was slightly surprised by the power of this place. According to the historical record, the Dao burial ground is responsible for the Red Wave, a cruel event where a few great emperors come out from their hiding places and slaughter countless living beings. The people who appeared each time hid their identity, but their strength was consistent. They do not attack any emperor lineage and would even refuse to fight any lineage that attacks them. They only kill and gather flesh, blood, soul, and negative emotions. If any factions tried to stop them, they would ignore any confrontation or temporarily seal their attacker before continuing their business. Because of this cautious attitude, no one knew how powerful this place was. Wang Wei looked at these coffins and no longer wasted time. He read their fate line to know why these people behaved in such a manner. So, that's how it is, thought Wang Wei. All these people are criminals or outlaws from the upper dimension. They are people who were hunted down by certain forces in the upper dimension for a crime or because they offended someone. Then, the leader of this place, the Heretic Emperor, came to see him and offered them a place to hide beside the lawless zone, the lower dimension. He even promised to help them gather world source occasionally to help them cultivate. These people agreed and, with some unknown means, the Heretic Emperor brought everyone to the lower dimension. Once in a while they would release a red wave, drastically weakening the world and heavenly Dao, allowing them to siphon world source from the entire myriad emperor world. Things are getting interesting, thought Wang Wei as he looked at the other space of this place. He then focused on these people, almost drooling. Both the Dao ancestors and great emperors are materials to refine emperor soul pills and the grand Dao enlightening pill. Meanwhile, he can also refine the immortal venerables into immortal chi pill to increase cultivation or turn them into puppets for the sect. Furthermore, he saw two great emperors who had entered the infant fiend god realm. Wang Wei can refine their flesh into a great power pill to help temper his body. Lastly, he might get some interesting techniques or knowledge from these people's souls, not to mention their artifacts and other accompanying resources. What a great loot, thought Wang Wei, who waved his hand, immediately sealing these people's powers, rendering all of them helpless. Furthermore, he did not dismiss the people in the other dimension. Sometimes, it's truly boring to be too powerful, thought Wang Wei as he disappeared from this place. Who are you? Said the Heretic Emperor, his body unable to stop trembling. Ah, you actually found me, said Wang Wei. Your perception is truly unique. Wang Wei, said the Heretic Emperor, his green hair turning darker along with a twisted expression. First child, what's going on? Said an old man before seeing Wang Wei's presence. His expression turned the same as his boss, and his other brothers followed a similar script to his. How did you find this place? Asked the Heretic Emperor. My beautiful and lovely wife left a tracking mark on this place so I can get rid of all you little rats, said Wang Wei as he looked around. I did not expect to have 4 of you. Well, I guess it doesn't matter how many of you are there. Wang Wei looked at them before frowning. Something is wrong with you people. The Heretic Emperor wanted to attack immediately. However, his sense of danger was going into overdrive. Every single atom of his body was telling him to run away. His very existence warned him of a terrifying danger. A sparkle flashed in Wang Wei's eyes. You are actually the same person. So that's how it is. The flesh, blood, and negative emotion were not to weaken the world and gather world source. No, it's a strange technique that allows you to assimilate someone else's existence. Wang Wei could not hide the shock on his face. Flesh, blood, soul, memories, and emotions are the simplest manifestation of someone's existence. So it's the perfect medium for this technique. What genius created such a technique? Is it you? He looked at the Heretic Emperor. No, based on your response, it's not you. The Heretic Emperor clutched his hand tightly, almost destroying his own hand, but Wang Wei ignored him. He looked at the other people, 4 different eternal emperors and each looked like you. The chances of that happening are too low, so their appearance is the result of the assimilation. Each of them looked like you at a different stage of your life. Childhood, middle age, and old age, and you represented the youthful stage. However, based on that child's unstable aura, this technique should be flawed. Even though you used eternal emperors as the medium without sufficient flesh and blood, his cultivation will actually decrease. With a simple analysis, Wang Wei felt his understanding of existence reached a different level. So, he ignored the tension in the room and continued his observation. So, what's the purpose of using this technique? Countless thoughts flashed in Wang Wei's mind. Is it to make your existence more potent and make it more difficult to kill you? A path to true eternity? No, those are side effects but not your real motive. If I had to guess, you're preparing to become an everlasting Empyrean. The Heretic Emperor tried everything to calm down, but his pupils could not help but dilate after hearing these words. He quickly controlled himself, but Wang Wei caught that small change. So, I was right. You were not confident in comprehending true self, so you used this method to deepen your understanding and prepare for the future. Moreover, if you succeed, you will not be a regular everlasting Empyrean but one of the very best. Furthermore, maybe you can also use it to become a boundless paragon. Ambitious, I see. He smiled brilliantly, but to the others, he looked like he was scorning them. However, I still have my doubts. Is such a technique only useful for such a simple thing? My intuition is telling me this marvelous inheritance is wasted on you. The Heretic Emperor exhaled deeply, calming himself down. He knew he was facing the greatest crisis of his life since then. As such, he needed to tread very cautiously to ensure he survived this ordeal. No matter what, as long as he is alive, he has the opportunity to make a comeback. Wang Wei, there is no animosity between us, so there should be no need to fight and kill each other, said the Heretic Emperor. True, but I can't stand everything you've done, so you're going to die today. Don't be hypocritical. How many lives have your hands been stained with? Many, but not nearly as much as you. You're a true devil, said the Heretic Emperor. Since when do people like you care about morality? People often think this about me, said Wang Wei, shaking his head. I have a moral bottom line no matter how low it is. I just don't want any moral restraints on my mind and actions. Wang Wei saw the sneer on these four's faces and shrugged. I know you're secretly calling me a hypocrite and I won't deny it. Luckily, I don't care what you think of me. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 972 The Heretic Emperor's Past. Is there really no room for negotiations? Asked the Heretic Emperor. Unfortunately no, replied Wang Wei, his voice terribly calm. Even if you don't take into account the issue of morality, killing you is way more beneficial to me. Not necessarily, said the Heretic Emperor. I'm willing to hand over my inheritance to you. After I kill you, it will belong to me. Not if I destroyed it beforehand. Try to see if you can do so in front of me, said Wang Wei calmly, and these four eternal emperors immediately felt terrified. They realize in front of this nightmare-like power, their resistance is futile. The Heretic Emperor quickly calmed down. He once lived in the upper dimension and experienced the strength of paragons. Although it was a great distance away, it was still an experience he will never forget. Furthermore, the battle back then was even his mind worked faster than ever in his life. How about we work for you? Oh, you want to surrender to me? Yes, and I'm even willing to let you enslave my soul as long as you promise it's only for a certain period. He did not mind sacrificing his freedom for a few hundred yuan epochs. Anyway, he was immortal and had all the time in the world. An interesting proposition, muttered Wang Wei. One of his plans is to create the Hell Court, an organization that directly opposes the heavenly court he created. As for the reason he's doing something that seems so counterintuitive, it's to preserve the longevity of his heavenly emperor era. The universe uses the word balance to describe how it functions. Everything that rises must fall, and great luck and prosperity will eventually become misfortune and decline. Knowing this, Wang Wei decided to take things into his own hands. He will reverse the luck of the heavenly emperor era and condense the power of misfortune that will eventually lead to its destruction. This condensed power will be blessed to the Hell Court, making their mission to destroy the court and the era. However, every leader of the Hell Court will be chosen by him, and their true mission will be to delay the destruction of the court. Of course, only the leader and maybe some heavenly emperors will know this secret. The fate of the Hell Court will be its destruction after failing its mission to destroy the Heavenly Court and the Heavenly Emperor era, but it can prolong his era by countless generations. This person is a perfect match for the first generation's Hell Emperor, thought Wang Wei, pausing for a few seconds. Your offer tempts me, but I refuse. What? Asked the Heretic Emperor with gritted teeth. This is a great deal with plenty of benefits. He did not understand why the latter objected. He was an eternal emperor willing to bow his head and suffer humiliation, so why not accept such a great deal? The answer to your question is very simple because I want to, said Wang Wei. The logical thing to do would be to accept your offer, but I want to kill you. I'm disgusted by your actions or the fact you have no pride as an eternal, and I want the first eternal emperor I killed to be as unique as you, so I refuse your offer. The heretic and the other three looked at him with red eyes. Sadly, Wang Wei did not care about them. If you want a better reason, I can give you one, he continued with a smile that made his face very punchable. I have a feeling that you are more trouble than you're worth it. If I don't kill you, some unknown and unexpected variables will appear in my plans. Such intuition is probably because of your inheritance. Are you satisfied with that explanation? The heretic emperor could not control his expressions. How could someone like him easily surrender? He already had a plan, and it involved his inheritance. When he was young, people often said he acted out of sorts, not in line with those around him. As such, he was often called heretic when he was a young cultivator. So, after proving the Tao, he took the name. Honoring his title, he did not act like most emperors and cultivated a higher realm. Instead, he immediately entered primordial chaos, ignoring the risk. While in another chaos world, a terrifying battle occurred over an inheritance. In that battle, thousands of great emperors died, and the heretic emperor only survived because he hid in his supreme chaos treasure. He took the inheritance and ran away before the Empyreans and Paragons arrived. He secretly returned to the Eternal Ascension world. Unfortunately, his luck seemed to have reached negative after acquiring that inheritance. On the way home, he encountered a fiend god that almost destroyed his artifact. Although he ran away, the treasure was reduced to a regular chaos. Luckily, he had enough resources from his treasure. Not long after returning to the Eternal Ascension world, he encountered a terrible event and died 3 times consecutively. Luckily, he had enough resources from his previous travels to revive himself and his status as an eternal emperor. After these deaths, he became extra cautious in everything he did. He hid himself to comprehend the inheritance before hatching a plan to hide in the lower dimension and using the help of many fugitives and outlaws to help him. According to his plan, he would find a way to release news about this inheritance. Such a thing that probably even Paragons would fight for could lure many powerhouses to visit the lower dimension. Afterward, he can find many ways to escape Wang Wei's clutches. Before I kill you, I have a few questions, said Wang Wei calmly. How did you sneak all these fugitives to the lower dimension? Heretic did not answer, but Wang Wei got his answer. The power of fate flashed in his eyes and he had his answer. The DOA burial ground used to be a supreme chaos treasure on par with a Paragon artifact. Furthermore, it was a unique one with only one purpose: hide. Although it was heavily damaged, the Heretic Emperor could still use it to enter the lower dimension with all these people. Lastly, since the artifact was now only a chaos treasure and these people were only great emperors, true heavenly Tao did not care about them in the lower dimension. Interesting. Could Old Man Nether have used a similar method? Wang Wei has been interested in how the latter came to the lower dimension as an Empyrean and stayed for so long without much repercussion. Forget about it for now. The Tao burial ground used to be a supreme chaos treasure. If I can repair it, it will greatly help my fight against the parasites. Wang Wei smiled. This place was worthy as one of the most dangerous forbidden land of the Myriad Emperor world. After dealing with it, the benefits are simply endless. Second question. Are you from the Myriad Emperor world? So, from what era? No physical answer, but Wang Wei got the information he wanted. The Heretic Emperor was born in the upper dimension. Despite the inherent danger, he chose this place as his hiding spot because it was the center of luck and destiny of the lower dimension. He believed he had a higher chance of cultivating the inheritance in such a place and maybe even countering the curse of misfortune he suffered from after obtaining it. As such, despite his nature and the danger, he still chose to stay here instead of any other heavenly world or world community. Third question. Who created your inheritance? No answer, and this time Wang Wei could not divine anything. However, he was not surprised by this fact. He had already noticed he could not divine information about Heretic, hence why he needed to ask specific questions. So, he guessed that whatever item containing the inheritance had the natural ability to protect information, including divination. Now, I'm even more interested, thought Wang Wei. Last question, any last word? Heretic looked at that smug look with profound hatred. Let's do it, he said. Ready, said the second child, ready to die for his main self. The room was suddenly divided into 4 colors: red, blue, yellow, and white. Tao of fire, water, earth, and wind, and calmness, but because the 4th child's power was still unstable, thus drastically commented Wang Wei calmly. No, this is not an elemental-based Tao but the Tao of the 4 poles. His eyes lit up. I wonder if that's your original Tao, or is this another side effect of this technique? While assimilating the existence of others, yours is also being fundamentally changed. Wang Wei did not know the answer, but he was excited to find out. Meanwhile, the Heretic Emperor could not hide his worry, not only because of his opponent's strength and calmness but because the 4th child's power was still unstable, thus drastically weakening their 4 poles array. Furthermore, he had lost contact with the other sleeping individuals, meaning he could not sacrifice any of them to help with the current situation. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 973 The First Kill, 4 Poles World Destruction. 4 poles hold heaven and earth, each in the 4 cardinal positions of east, west, north, and south. These cardinals also symbolize the 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and autumn. Combining the elements of wind, earth, water, and fire, the Heretic Emperor could create a world and destroy it, generating unimaginable destruction. However, his facial expression soon changed because nothing happened. No matter how much he mobilized his Grand Tao source, his attack never manifested. What is the probability that an eternal emperor's own power would fail? Asked Wang Wei, his voice extremely calm to the point of boredom. The answer cannot be 0 since there is no absolute in this world, so 1 out of a septillion or maybe even lower. Sadly, as someone who can control luck, I can turn that statistical anomaly into a possibility. The Heretic Emperor felt despair overwhelm his mind. However, he was still a man of high willpower, so he did not give up, no matter how slim the chance of victory was. Samsara of season. He mobilized the power of his other selves and attacked again, using the season's rotation to control time and the power of life and death. Sadly, his attempt was futile. Then he watched as his body was rapidly disintegrating inch by inch, particle by particle. He mobilized the power of his soul, trying to abandon his body, and survived in the shape of his primordial spirit. Alas, he soon discovered that his soul was also dissipating. A ruthless light flashed in Heretic's eyes. He controlled the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd child, preparing to blow them up and buy himself enough time. Don't you understand resistance is futile? Said Wang Wei with a sigh. His voice contained a sense of desolation. Invincibility is truly lonely, he said, not minding how much of a scoundrel he sounded like. I need a real battle soon, a battle that pushes me to my limit. Hopefully I can meet the requirement to fight Old Man Nether soon. After seeing his plan fail, the Heretic Emperor still did not give up. He detected the boredom in Wang Wei's eyes, making his anger reach a new height. However, he knew this was not the time to let emotions get to him. This is my last hope, he thought, preparing for the right opportunity that would give him a chance to escape this situation. I would never allow you to blow up this supreme chaos treasure. That's my reward, said Wang Wei with a playful smile. The Heretic Emperor then remembered the latter's doubt time and fate. Finally, the Heretic Emperor accepted his fate. He looked directly into Wang Wei's eyes, not moving an inch. He was engraving this man's face into his very existence, vowing to kill him no matter what price he had to pay. What a strong obsession, said Wang Wei as he looked at these 4, who only had their upper torso intact. With such strong obsession and resentment, it's not impossible for you to create a miracle and survive my annihilation. Well, we can't have that, can we? Wang Wei clapped his hand together before activating the Buddha veins he created after the exchange with Feng Heng. Holy light emanated from his body, followed by chanting of a Buddhist mantra. Said the Heretic Emperor, sensing that the holy light was rapidly reducing his obsession and resentment. A few minutes later, this eternal emperor, who had experienced the ups and downs of the world, brought terror to the myriad emperor world for numerous eras, and had been planning for countless Yuan epochs, finally died. Well, his physical aspect died. Wang Wei waved his hand to summon a river of chains, the Grand Tao source. His eyes saw a karma thread that led him to a particular chain with an imprint on it. Does he only have one Tao imprint? Wang Wei thought he would have 4 after the assimilation, but he only had 4. Few explanations possible. The technique is limited, the Heretic Emperor did not completely cultivate it, or Tao imprints fall under Grand Tao's jurisdiction, and no one can have more than one. Many ideas appeared in Wang Wei's mind as he followed this train of thought. One day I should try to see if I can have more than one Tao imprint or create my own version. He felt he had wasted too much time already, so he mobilized his Tao will and removed the Heretic Emperor's Tao imprint. The thing struggled against his attempt, but it was futile. The last steps, said Wang Wei. His eyes saw all the karmic lights connected to the Heretic Emperor. He swung his hand, cutting all of them. In an instant, almost everyone who knew the Heretic Emperor had their memories wiped out. It did not matter whether they were in the lower dimension, upper dimension, or other chaos worlds. He also discovered he had to erase the karma connected to the 3 other eternal emperors that the Heretic Emperor assimilated. I'm looking forward even more to that inheritance. He focused on the task at hand since it was not 100% fulfilled. Wang Wei discovered he could not eliminate all the Heretic Emperor's karmic threats. Many of them belonged to individuals way more powerful than him, so he needed to be careful and sneaky. Otherwise, these people might notice a missing memory. Luckily, the Heretic Emperor did not have an Empyrean or Paragon friend or family member, meaning the karmic connections between these people were very thin, almost non-existent. These karmic threads belonged to Empyreans and Paragons, who might have heard the other 3 in the Heretic Emperor's name or seen his face by chance but had no deep connection or interaction with him. So, after Wang Wei took his time to cut off these threads, he successfully erased the Heretic Emperor's face and identity from the world. However, the latter is still not completely dead because of his influence. The Heretic Emperor's existence is connected to his history or achievements. As long as people remember the name of the Tao burial ground or the red wave or record what he has done in history, he will still be alive. The final step, muttered Wang Wei as he activated his time Tao. He condensed everything the Heretic Emperor and the other 3 eternal emperors had ever done and accomplished in his life into a small, history line, before crushing it. In an instant, every book or jade slip in the myriad emperor world that recorded any knowledge or information about the Tao burial ground or the red wave disappeared. It was also the same for any records of the Heretic Emperor's accomplishments in the upper dimension or other chaos worlds. Finally dead. Eternal emperors are truly difficult to kill, said Wang Wei as he exhaled deeply. Well, is he really dead since I technically still remember him? Wang Wei frowned before divining the answer, and he learned it was impossible. The Heretic Emperor was too far gone, so according to the rules of heaven and earth, he could not be revived. I need a technique that accomplishes all these things in one step. It was too time-consuming to kill an eternal emperor, let alone future everlasting Empyreans and boundless Paragons. He did not know what made these people harder to kill, but he knew it would not be simple. I can change his fate so that he was never born or existed, or I can use destruction Tao to achieve ultimate destruction. Some Taos are more advantageous than others when it comes to killing eternal emperors, and the Supreme Outlaw Taos are the best because of this overwhelming advantage. Wang Wei exhaled deeply after making an initial plan for the technique. He analyzed this experience to see if he learned or missed something crucial. Although it looked easy to kill the Heretic Emperor, the latter's influence on the world was not as deep as it sounded. The latter had few achievements or noteworthy acts that drastically influenced history and attached to his existence. Wang Wei knew if he was killing someone like the absolute beginning emperor, whose experience had affected the entire lower dimension, it would not be so easy to erase him from the annals of history. Wang Wei has long known it was in the best interest of Eternals to influence and change the world as much as possible as it guarantees their survival. This is one of the many reasons he cares so much about the Heavenly Emperor era. The more prosperous it is, the more influence he will have, and the more difficult it will be to kill him. Let's go see this inheritance. He was excited because he saw the opportunity to fuse his existence with the word Heavenly Emperor. If he can succeed, he will become even more difficult to kill since his enemy will have to eradicate the very concept of the Heavenly Emperor from the lower dimension. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 974 Mad Scientist Eternal Ascension World, Dream World. Su Shi was talking to Xian, feeling like she had a new revelation about herself with each passing moment. Then she suddenly paused as she felt something. Without hesitation she paused their session and returned to the real world. "What's this feeling?" she muttered, scanning the entire world without any success. She frowned before summoning her time Dao, looking through the past and present, but the result was the same. For a moment she thought she was overthinking things, but she quickly dismissed that idea. She sensed that many people were scanning the world, indicating they also sensed something. So, she summoned the sect's ancestors to see if they knew something. Western Bliss Sect. Feng Heng opened his eyes as he sensed something. "This sensation, I've felt it before." He searched for his memories and found something. "An eternal has fallen?" In his life he had a similar feeling twice, and each time his memory had problems, and his intuition warned him he was missing something. "I can remember Donor Su Shi and the Heavenly Emperor, so it should not be them. Could there be another Eternals in the world? Yes, the Forbidden Lands. Of the 5 of them, there should be one with an Eternal." Feng Heng analyzed the situation. The Heavenly Emperor had already dealt with the Blood Earth and Chrono Chaos Realm, and the Western Pure Bliss Land is the holy place of his sect, leaving only the Swallowing Zone and the Nether Hell. Feng Heng used his divine sense to check these 2 places before frowning. He did not dare get close to the Nether Hell after the Heavenly Emperor sealed it, leaving only the Swallowing Zone. The problem must originate from one of these 2 places, and my bet is on the Swallowing Zone. Feng Heng hesitated whether to check things out but decided otherwise. Whatever secrets lie in those places, whether good or bad, no longer had anything to do with him. The Heavenly Emperor wishes to use these forbidden lands to establish his prestige, so no matter dares intervene. Feng Heng then sent a piece of information to his sect before continuing his seclusion. Meanwhile, the world experienced a mild shock as the news of a fallen Eternal spread. Although only a few people noticed the anomaly, after figuring out what had happened, the news was not hidden. See race. Ao Shen felt the world's subtle change. He tried to calculate or divine the answer but could not find anything. He contacted the demon race to get any information, but their inheritance was long broken, so he had nothing to go on with. Finally, he had to rely on his bloodline inherited memories to find the answer. He could not rest easily without knowing the anomaly he sensed. An Eternal is dead? His face contorted. Such an event made him think about his mortality. He secretly shook his head before removing the formations. Holding the thing in his hand, he immediately felt it was unique. Unknown and indestructible material, at least with my current strength. A natural ability to protect information and an unknown power I cannot recognize but makes me feel palpitations, commented Wang Wei before closing his eyes and receiving this inheritance. He sat cross-legged on the ground, lost in this vast knowledge. After an unknown amount of time, Wang Wei opened his eyes in shock. Who is this Chu Yun? Why does he feel like a mad scientist? The slip did not contain an inheritance per se. It's more like Chu Yun's years of experiment on existence. One of the results of this experiment was the method the Heretic Emperor used to assimilate other people's existence to elevate his own. However, this method is only a small portion of all the experiments. I was right. This inheritance is wasted on him. If I guess correctly, Chu Yun studied existence to achieve transcendence. Wang Wei's eyes lit up. He did not know whether the latter succeeded, but his intuition told him he might have, or at the very least, come very close. So, existence sublimation is another path of transcendence? No, after achieving half-step transcendence, these people's existence should also have sublimated or changed even if their method did not directly use existence. Now, a more interesting topic would be whether there is a difference between half-step transcendents, who were once boundless paragons, and regular paragons. The motif of this chaos universe is that those who comprehend and control their existence at tier 10 are more powerful than others, so it should be the same when they reach tier 12. 5 or half-step transcendence. I have too little information to speculate on such a thing, concluded Wang Wei before looking at the jade slip with hesitation. Chu Yun did not leave his experiment for nothing. Anyone who wishes to receive the deeper knowledge contained in it must accept his karma. In return, he asks for more ideas, information, or knowledge about the path of transcendence. Wang Wei realized that even with his karma-unbound physique, he could not block the karma of this slip, so he would have to pay it later. Under his analysis, he could already tell Chu Yun was not an ordinary person. Existence can be considered a small taboo in the chaos universe, and each sentient being will have only 3 opportunities to comprehend it. But Chu Yun successfully experimented on existence, and even found ways to leave his knowledge behind without Grand Dao erasing it. This man should have a Dao overlord level intelligence, and it's the pinnacle kind, thought Wang Wei. He did not know the latter's personality and whether there would be trouble with owing him karma. However, based on Chu Yun's experiments, Wang Wei could imagine how many people suffered to get these results. He took a moment to make a character model for Chu Yun. A ruthless man whose intelligence made him cold and indifferent, isolated from his peers because they could not keep up with him. So, he focused all his effort on discovering the mysteries of the world, including pursuing transcendence. He will do everything to achieve his goal, and his proud intelligence might be his biggest weakness. If you can keep up with him and his wild ideas and thoughts, getting along with him is fine. If not, he will treat you as if you were disposable. After coming to this conclusion based on the limited data, Wang Wei decided to take the risk and accepted the karma. Anyway, he did not think he would lose to Chu Yun, and he had already had a way of transcendence from the human emperor. Maybe this idea was enough to pay his karma. He exhaled deeply before putting the slip into his sea of consciousness. He did not completely trust this thing and sealed it with his soul. In an emergency, he's prepared to unseal himself, release all his soul's hidden powers and deal with the situation. As for the consequences of such actions, he will deal with them later. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Most of it was useless since so much time had passed since these people left the upper dimension. However, he did learn some basic knowledge about that vast and ancient world. When he ascends, he won't be completely clueless. Now, I don't have any regret for what I am about to do to these people. How could they be so poor, complained Wang Wei. After so long, they have already used all the resources they've brought from the upper dimension. So Wang Wei did not find anything from their space ring or personal dimensional space. Luckily, he still received countless Emperor, Dao, and Immortal artifacts, most of which he can use as materials to create even better weapons. Wang Wei waved his hand to gather and condense all the baleful aura from this place into a slaughter crystal for Li Jun afterward. He no longer hesitated and returned home. A little over 3 months had passed since he left, so he checked on the world, especially the dream world. He immediately noticed the competition in the battle tower was intense, especially for the Heaven Chosen. I need to begin my trafficking plan. Otherwise, it would be troublesome if these Heaven Chosen stayed in the lower dimension to gather luck and destiny from the battle tower. Sending these Heaven Chosen to the upper dimension is a way for Wang Wei to provide talented individuals to the revolution against the parasites. These guys will also be the vanguard before he ascends, so he cannot let them stay in the lower dimension to prove the Tao. Let's put it on the agenda, thought Wang Wei, preparing to take action immediately. However, he soon sensed something. Things are about to change? In that case, let's wait a while. Wang Wei returned to the sect while sending a projection to see his mother. A few days later, Su Shi appeared in the sky. Her angelic voice echoed in the minds of all sentient beings, well, at least the ones not in the dream world. Heaven and earth above, the world is weak and needs nourishment. I offer this primordial chaos chi to bless my home and all sentient beings. An enormous eye appeared in the sky, looking at everything with indifference. Something flew from Su Shi's hands and entered the eye. Bang! The world shook, and in an instant, all 5 continents and seas grew by more than 50% of their original size. The process of transforming innate chi instantly reached 100%, but this was not the fundamental change of this event. The Eye of Heavenly Daos aura suddenly released a terrifying aura that covered the entire world. The truly scary thing was that the aura was no longer on par with a second-class emperor with 14% Grand Dao source, but it rose to first class of 15%. The process did not stop until it reached first class of 17%. Many people's faces changed after noticing this animal, especially the insurgents with first class. Previously, they could walk sideways in the world, ignoring Heavenly Daos' greatest weapon, Divine Punishment Thunder. But now, the power of that punishment is on par with the best of first class. This change did not only affect them but also all the factions. The Heavenly Emperor era had just started, but these people had been planning for the next generations. They knew the minimum requirement for an emperor was first class, but Heavenly Dao suddenly became so powerful out of nowhere. In the future, if a Heavenly Emperor does not have the strength of 18% Grand Dao source, Their power in the court will be severely limited by Grand Dao, let alone other factions. The worst part is this situation might be aggravated if the Heavenly Emperor decides to raise the requirement for the position to be at least 18%. Su Shi held the purple merit in her hands while also sensing how many people were cursing her. She knew her actions offended many people and might have certain detrimental effects on the academy. However, the benefits outweigh the gains. With her actions, the academy will have another protection from Heavenly Dao besides the luck for the creation of the academy. With these two protections, they won't have to worry about being destroyed in future catastrophes. Su Shi looked in the direction of the Dao opening sect and sent a message, "Thank you. I owe you one." At the last minute, it was Wang Wei who acted and sealed Heavenly Dao, preventing its power from being on par with eternal emperors if not higher. Su Shi had the same idea, but she was the one who initiated this change, and it would affect her merit if she were the one to do it. Meanwhile, Feng Hing did not want Buddhism to owe such large karma as preventing Heavenly Dao from evolving and becoming more powerful. Ao Shun felt the same way about the demon race, and Hua Feng Huang wanted to watch things from the side and see the outcome. Su Shi did not waste any more time and continued her actions. Most of the merit in her hands disappeared, and the world once again changed. An enormous multicolored dragon appeared above the sky, swimming around the world to nourish it. Once it finished its tour, it descended on the Emperor Enlightening Academy, fusing with their faction's Chi Luck Dragon. Today I, the Time Void Empress, have officially become the 9th Emperor of the Academy. I will preach to all sentient beings. She sat on a throne, surrounded by visions of heaven and earth. Without hesitation, Su Shi preached to the world, her voice echoing throughout the world. Wang Wei forcefully disconnected everyone in the dream world after a server-wide announcement so everyone could benefit from this major event. He looked into the sky, feeling that the balance mechanism had been affected, lowering its restrictions on the Dao opening sect after Su Shi's actions. He smiled before closing his eyes and listening. However, he had to stop for a few days during the preaching as the second event he had predicted had occurred. Tong Ruobing and Mu Lei had asked for help. It took longer than I anticipated, he thought before taking a drop of blood from his body to condense a clone. He waved his hand to send it to the B-Star world before continuing to listen to her sermon. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. If not for the terrifying resilience of the Star Beast body, these people would have long been killed. "So, are you ready to pay the price for asking me to act?" asked Wang Wei. "Of course. Otherwise, I would not have contacted you," replied Mu Lei with a sigh. He had experienced many in such a short period and realized many things. Now he was ready to end things. "What do you want me to do? Kill them or seal them?" continued Wang Wei. "You can kill him but leave the others alive," replied Mu Lei, pointing to a towering figure that was red all over his body. His eyes contained 10 ancient stars rotating around each other. He did not hide his killing intent. "What did this guy do?" asked Wang Wei, wondering why the usual relaxed Mu Lei had such a terrifying killing intent. However, Mu Lei did not answer and said, "Let's talk later." "All right. Do you want the final blow?" "If I could, I would have done it already," said Mu Lei with a helpless sigh, so Wang Wei nodded. Everyone was confused about this strange conversation. However, no one dared to intervene and say anything. As soon as this gray-haired man appeared on the battlefield, everyone had a strange feeling. It was like a heavy weight on their chest that could not be removed no matter what. These people have lived long enough and are powerful enough to know when to trust their instincts or gut feelings. Wang Wei looked at these immortal sovereigns and magical circles appeared above their heads. Immediately, countless immortal lights flashed from their colossal bodies, but it was useless. In an instant, 12 of these people turned into small crystals. Wang Wei handed these seals to Mu Lei before focusing on the last remaining individual. "I have wanted to test the strength of my flesh for a while, so let's use you as my punching bag." The red-skin immortal sovereign's face became ugly. He saw how easily this new intruder dealt with his allies. "Mu Lei, what about your oath?" Mu Lei looked at him but did not say a single word. He looked at his companions and said, "Let's go." He disappeared from the void battlefield, leaving Wang Wei alone. "Are you ready?" asked Wang Wei, who waited a few seconds before rushing toward his opponent. Boom. Their fists clashed and the red-skin immortal sovereign, whose name is Jianghu, took a dozen steps backward. However, with his size, these few steps took him millions of light years from a normal human's perception. "Hey, I have been looking forward to this battle. So you better take it seriously or your death will be very tragic," said Wang Wei, sending shivers down Jiang Bei's spine. Wang Wei nodded in satisfaction before confronting the latter a second time. His tactic was simple and barbaric: fist to fist, flesh to flesh. Golden armor. As these two titans clashed, a golden energy armor appeared around Jiang Bei's fist, allowing him to protect his hand while also offsetting the force behind Wang Wei's attack. Said Wang Wei, "Your arrogance will be your downfall. Don't worry, I only act arrogant in front of the right person. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 977 Battle of the Flesh 2. Pseudo-energy dominance. Jiang Bei took out a small orb, releasing a terrifying amount of energy into the void battlefield. The universe he accidentally created was immediately in shambles as trillions of galaxies crumbled under the pressure of such a vast quantity of immortal qi. Even the entire void battlefield seemed under a lot of pressure, as if the boundary that separated it from the Star Beast world was on the verge of being destroyed. Meanwhile, Wang Wei felt he was in a quagmire. His blood energy was not operating as smoothly as it used to, his soul seemed slightly groggy, and he could tell that even controlling his Grand Tao source would be an issue. Energy dominance, one of the few saving grace of the immortal path, thought Wang Wei. People have seriously underestimated the power of qi or energy. There is a reason it's one of the modules of the world. No one and nothing can completely escape the need for energy. If someone could control the energy needed for an entire chaos world, they would ascend to the level of half-step transcendence. If they could do it on a scale on par with the entire chaos universe, such a person's lowest achievements would be on par with the 6 cardinals. It's true that Grand Tao favors the other path, but it does not mean the immortal path is useless or does not have a way forward, analyzed Wang Wei before focusing on his opponent. It's time for me to test out some of the new techniques I recently created. Let's see how much longer you can remain arrogant, sneered Jiang Bei. He remained calm despite the situation because he saw an opportunity to survive. The strange youth is only using his flesh to fight him. So, as long as he takes this opportunity, there is a chance for him to escape this place. Afterward, he only needs to ascend to the upper dimension. As for the oath he made to protect his faction for the rest of his life, he would deal with the situation after ascending. Life is the most important. There is hope for the future as long as he is alive. Wang Wei no longer talked. He controlled his acupoints and used a new technique. The phantom of the legendary creatures called Kunping appeared behind, showing its majestic wingspan. Swish. Before Jiang Bei could react, Wang Wei was already before him. Another phantom materialized behind him, and it was of a phoenix. Bang! The fist landed on Jiang Bei's head, sending him flying in the distance. However, the force of this attack was not the truly deadly aspect, it was the immortal phoenix flame that was rapidly burning every atom of Jiang Bei's body. His already red skin turned even brighter, but he did not care for such an insignificant change. One of the weaknesses of Star Beast bodies is attacks that cannot be removed and constantly burning away their flesh and size. He could feel that his opponent could no longer use energy to regrow his body until the Dao was removed. In other words, Jiang Bei's current size was his limit until he expelled the Dao from inside. Wang Wei felt this Star Beast world's cultivation system truly had its uniqueness. Although he did not like it, there was a reason their world was one of the best in the endless void. Jiang Bei's eyes were red, full of anger and madness. His aura suddenly increased, becoming more wild, violent, and uncontrollable. Frowny face rampaging mode. Wang Wei's eyes lit up as he realized what had happened. Jiang Bei exploded all the immortal qi in his mansion to boost his power and strength. His power did drastically increase. However, he lost the ability to cast spells, and his immortal mansions will definitely crack afterward and even be destroyed if this fight goes long enough. After this battle, Jiang Bei will no longer have immortal tier battle prowess and must use a lot of effort and resources to heal his immortal mansion. This technique is not replicable by other immortal venerables unless they also have a powerful body. Otherwise, the rampaging immortal qi will instantly annihilate their bodies and souls. Even worse, the immortal mansions of most immortal path cultivators are not sturdy enough to withstand such a technique. Swish. Jianghu appeared before Wang Wei, speed blitzing him this time around. With one punch, Wang Wei's humongous body flew away as his arms exploded into a pile of nothingness. He destroyed too many things in his way, but he did not care. On the contrary, he had a wide grin on his face. This was the first time he was injured since proving the Tao. Although it was only a blood clone and he was only fighting with his flesh, he was happy with the outcome. So, his laughter resonated through this void battlefield. Ha, let's go again. He clashed head-on with Jianghu, ignoring how often certain body parts exploded into oblivion. He did not care since his natural regeneration was already monstrous enough, but he also had the Phoenix manifestation, which could help him. So, he went all out without any reservation. He had an enjoyable battle that allowed him to see the limits of his current flesh cultivation and even push them beyond them. Alas, said Wang Wei looking at the weak and pale Jianghu. He sighed as he wished the latter could hold on a lot longer. It doesn't matter. I will recreate him in the dream world and continue our fight, thought Wang Wei before focusing on something else. My experiment failed. Wang Wei had a second purpose for this battle. He used his arrogance, behavior and words to force Jianghu to try something crazy, like using his true power as a Tier 11 powerhouse. His real objective is whether true heavenly Tao would remove the restrictions on an immortal sovereign when fighting him, allowing them to have the same strength they would have in the upper dimension. Unfortunately, nothing happened during the entire battle. There are 3 ways to explain the situation. True heavenly Tao will keep the rules no matter the circumstances. It did not allow for any changes because I fought with a blood clone, or it will wait until a later date before removing the restrictions. If immortal sovereigns have access to their real strength, it will make many of Wang Wei's plans more difficult. As such, he needed to be prepared in advance. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 978 First Queen. Myriad Emperor World. Wang Wei opened his eyes again, focusing on the battle between his clone and the immortal sovereign. He looked at his smiling face and followed soon. It should be about time. Luckily, it won't bring her much trouble, thought Wang Wei, hating the fact he had to rely on others for protection. However, he did not deal with the issue for too long as he sent his divine sense to the conferred god list in the heavenly court and changed something. A new name appeared in one of the positions. This should have fundamentally changed the state of the world, but no one knew, and no visible changes could be detected. So, he closed his eyes and listened to the sermon without wasting any time. Eternal Ascension World, Origin Seal Continent. Wu Hong opened her eyes from her cultivation room, feeling her destiny had changed. Queen Mother? A destiny related to the Heavenly Emperor karmic position? She took a moment to deduce the changes that occurred to her. So, that's what he did in the lower dimension? The Sword Empress did not mention much detail, probably not knowing much herself. However, she knew his actions greatly impacted the upper dimension's Tao opening sect. Wu Hong raised her hand as merit descended from the sky into her hands. She immediately frowned as she sensed a terrifying gaze full of malice. Luckily, another power came and blocked this gaze, otherwise she felt she would have died. Is the difference so vast? Thought Wu Hong, sighing deeply. In times like this, she regretted not taking these lesser methods. However, she will not dwell too long on this kind of useless emotion. With this merit, I can accelerate my healing time, she thought, looking in the distance. I guess I will owe him some karma. She closed her eyes and continued her retreat. Time was not waiting for anyone and the world was rapidly changing. Her current situation was not ideal for the upcoming catastrophe. She wanted to return to her peak as soon as possible, even if such an attempt was very risky in the current political landscape. Star Beast World, Void Battlefield. Wang Wei's clone looked at the weakened Jianghu and exhaled. This battle was enjoyable, but all good things must come to an end. He raised his hand and slapped down. No, you can't kill me. I am. The Dragon Zodiac attack instantly annihilated his soul and colossal body. Normally, Wang Wei would have used this man as a resource. After all, although it's arduous to remove the brand in an immortal sovereign's immortal chi, it's still possible after much effort. However, considering this man has some personal connection with his business partner, Mulei, he decided to give him a clean death. Wang Wei raised his hand to look at this void battlefield. With a swipe of his divine sense, he reverse-engineered how it was created. As expected, this one is different from the battle spirit world, he analyzed. The one he saw in that world was empty and a dimension with extremely reinforced space walls. However, the one in the Star Beast world contained some of the ability to regenerate matter and would create a universe once it was given enough time to rest and recuperate. This change seemed to result from aesthetic choices and the difference in laws between each world. Regardless, it's worth learning for my battlefield. After analyzing this, he had a schematic of refining his void battlefield. So, he sent a message to Sword One in the commercial hub to look for certain rare materials that would aid in the process. Finally, he took a step and appeared in the Star-Lord Mountain, where Mu Lei and Tong Ruobing waited for him. The three quickly got into the atmosphere, mostly because Mu Lei was extremely open-minded and did not mind the vast difference in strength between him and Wang Wei. Well, at least he did not show it. So, are you going to tell me the story between you two? Asked Wang Wei, who was served wine instead of tea. Why do you sound like a girl who wants some juicy gossip? Said Mu Lei. Hey, it's not only girls who enjoy gossip, replied Wang Wei with a sneer. Don't change the subject. Mu Lei sighed as he gulped his wine. The story is very cliché. I met a close friend and we became sword brothers. However, as you know, he was also my competitor in this battle. So, we made an oath to ensure we can compete fairly in the final battle. Unfortunately, this was the beginning of the recent events. Mu Lei began to drink again. A slightly desolate look appeared in his eyes. Luckily, the quiet Tong Ruobing held his hand underneath the table, so he smiled at her. In this generation, our sect was very hostile toward the Jiang clan, almost causing an all-out war. My sword brother did not want this, so he convinced our two factions to make another oath not to kill each other's family members. With this oath, I thought the Jiang clan was the perfect ally after I secretly created the court. Who knew their ancestor betrayed me, leading to the previous battle. As for the oath? He found a loophole since he was not the one killing me. With this short conversation, Wang Wei understood many things. Mu Lei could not be like him and immediately show the existence of the court after creating it. Instead, he probably followed Tong Ruobing's advice and secretly found allies through sharing benefits and maybe intimidation. Then, once the majority of factions with immortal sovereigns become their allies, they officially established the Heavenly Court. Sadly, the Jiang clan's betrayal alerted these factions in advance, and out of greed, they banded together to suppress Mu Lei and the Star-Lord Mountain to take control of most of the court's power. So, what happened to your sword brother? He was ashamed after what his family did and did not dare to see him. So, he sealed himself. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Emperors must pass a test from true Heavenly Tao to hold the karma position of Heavenly Tao. Wang Wei secretly shook his head after dividing the test. There was no limit on strength, so technically, even a third-class emperor could become a heavenly emperor based on true Heavenly Tao standard. However, such a class of emperor cannot bear the power of a heaven-will world. They would be paralyzed if they took the position as they tried to share more burdens for Heavenly Tao. So, if a third-class emperor wishes to hold this position, he or she must give up most of his or her powers and share a small burden with Heavenly Tao. Wang Wei focused on the other rules of the test. There is a need for a certain level of Tao heart. Karma cannot be too negative and temperament cannot be too extreme. Tao ancestors, immortal venerables, immortal sovereigns, and insurgents cannot be official, heavenly emperor. Is this rule because I left the position of regent for the Tao opening sect? Thought Wang Wei. These other paths of immortality cannot sit on the throne officially, but they can serve as regent during generations when no worthy emperors appear. Wang Wei did not dwell too long on this subject as he had three main rules remaining. The first one involved foreign emperors. People from other world communities can become the heavenly emperor in a foreign plane, but the test they take will be 10 times more challenging. Furthermore, that's only if they have not wasted their 2 attempts. So, each person has 2 attempts at the test? When was true Heavenly Tao so generous? Thought Wang Wei before acquiring the answer to his question. An emperor can try again after failing the first test, but the second test will also be exponentially more difficult. Furthermore, if a person fails the 2 tests, they cannot go to another heaven will and try again. The rules are strict but also leave room for maneuvering, thought Wang Wei, thinking of his situation. A great emperor could pass heavenly Dao's trial but fail the one he left. Such an emperor cannot sit on the throne even though heaven and earth technically acknowledge them. The same can apply to other world communities if a powerful great emperor appears and leaves their mark on the court. The heavenly emperor era will be prosperous beyond anything people can imagine. If I confuse my existence with the word heavenly emperor, I can imagine how difficult it would be to kill me. Eternal emperors from the lower dimension have another advantage: it's difficult to interact with the lower dimension. As such, when killing them, there will be some restrictions or interference because of the world's rules. This advantage will be magnified on Wang Wei once he succeeds in his plan. Wang Wei smiled after thinking about this. Things have been going smoothly recently. I should be more careful in case my luck is too prosperous. His eyes squinted as he waited for the meeting to end. He still had a few finishing touches to make before returning home. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. After saying those words, he kissed her on the cheek before disappearing. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. However, he soon removed that idea from his mind. However, he still chose to meet the girl. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. For a few seconds, Hosher did not know what to say. Then, her face turned red and she looked at the ground. Your Majesty, I'm sorry. Wang Wei secretly sighed. Can I ask why? My master always had a dream, said Hosher, who took a deep breath before looking directly into Wang Wei's eyes. He wanted our sect to have another lineage for material alchemy. Although I know the chances of succeeding are slim, I still want to try it. Ambitious, thought Wang Wei. He never thought this determined senior sister had the ambition to prove the Tao and open a new alchemy lineage in the Origin Pill Tao sect. Wang Wei looked at her as he realized the wonder of destiny. The Origin Pill Tao sect held the Pill Ancestor destiny, so it made sense that a new Emperor alchemy lineage would manifest in their sect. It's the same for Wu Ming's Totem Warrior lineage that appeared in the Origin Rune Palace. Although it took some drastic measures before succeeding, the end result was the same. It's fine if you don't want to change your sect, said Wang Wei. Although he failed to lure this new destiny to his sect, maybe it was for the best. I'm a person who likes talent, so I will give you a few gifts. He pointed at her forehead, and in an instant, Hosher felt a technique appear in her mind. Force control skill? Hosher's eyes lit up as she understood the implications of this technique. Her alchemy talent would become unparalleled. No, not just alchemy talent but also my cultivation talent. With the dream world simulation setting and her innate talent that allowed her to know the essence of all spiritual herbs and how to combine them, she had little doubt she could revive material alchemy Tao. However, to prove the Tao she needs strength. Sadly, she knew how terrible her cultivation talent was compared to these heaven chosens. She was born earlier than all of them but was still a peak saint, while the best of them had already proven the Tao. However, she saw hope in making up for the gap with this technique. I must warn you, this technique cannot be passed on to anyone else, even your closest person, said Wang Wei. I swear on my life to never reveal, said Hoshu without hesitation. Wang Wei nodded. Although he had already placed restrictions on the technique, he still wanted her attitude regarding the matter. The second gift I have for you is destiny. He pointed at her and gathered the remaining scattered destiny of material alchemy Tao, focusing everything on her. Thank you, Your Majesty, bowed Hoshu. As a saint from a top emperor lineage, she had knowledge of things like luck and destiny, so she guessed what the heavenly emperor did. This is my last gift for you, continued Wang Wei as a multicolored flame materialized on his palm. Chaos flame, uttered Ho Shu with wide eyes. That's correct. As an alchemist, you should understand the benefit of a powerful heavenly flame, especially for material alchemy. I don't know how to repay such kindness, said Ho Shu. She wanted to accept and reject such a heavy gift. I will help you today so that you can help me tomorrow. Where would your majesty ever need my help? I will ascend and leave this world one day. But after you prove the Tao, maybe my sect will need you to take care of it. So, implanting a seed today that can become fruit someday. I didn't expect your majesty to have so much faith in me, said Ho Shu with a blush. It doesn't matter whether I have faith in you. What matters is whether you have faith in yourself, said Wang Wei. The path of emperor is cruel, and without the mindset that I will be the final victor no matter the circumstances, you won't go far even if you have the best talent in the world. I understand, she replied with brilliant eyes. Wang Wei nodded before handing her a seed of his chaos flame. I'm looking forward to your future, said Wang Wei before disappearing from the room. Before the entrance to the tower, Wang Wei's dream avatar appeared with a smile. Her rise should shake things in the Origin Pill Dao sect. Let's see if I can use this opportunity to spy on Lu Cheng's secrets. He entered the tower to recreate his battle with Jianghu. Emperor Enlightening Academy. Su Shi looked at the altar before her with no response and frowned. Headmaster, what should we do? Wait and see. If there is no response after a while, tell the Heavenly Emperor the truth. After giving the instructions, she left and returned to seclusion. She activated the array in the room to the limit so she could have as much time as possible on the inside while only a short period passed by on the outside. After an unknown amount of time, Su Shi opened her eyes and exhaled. It was time. Su Shi always felt it was not the right time to see him again. However, after listening to Xin's advice, she knew she was procrastinating and running away from her troubles. So, inspired by the Heavenly Emperor's words, she decided to stop avoiding and confront the issue head-on. Su Shi meticulously reconstructed her husband Lin Fan's existence, while using his world imprint as the medium. She took her time, going as slowly as needed to ensure no mistakes or errors. In the process, her understanding of existence drastically improved. After what felt like an eternity, a handsome young man appeared before her. He looked exactly as she remembered him, except for his very weak aura. However, it was understandable since she inherited everything from him, including his cultivation. Where am I? Asked Lin Fan as he looked around. When he saw Su Shi, the concussion in his eyes faded, replaced by uncontrollable elation. Shire? I knew you would succeed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. No, it's fine. Lin Fan set up the table and served tea. Your situation should not be too good. I guess I should not be surprised that the Academy knows my situation, said Lin Fan with a wry smile. Basically. Do they have an official stand on the issue? Yes, but don't worry about them. The final decision is ultimately yours, said Qiujin, and Lin Fan gave him a look. He was not stupid and guessed the Academy wanted him to choose Su Shi. After all, the benefits of this choice were the best for them. Teacher, I'm glad you're on my side. I have watched you grow up. Although I never said it, I always treated you as my son. So, don't worry about the Academy and focus on yourself. Choose the path you feel will leave you with the least regret. The path of least regret, muttered Lin Fan, looking at the tea set before him. A few seconds later, he sighed and said, this is indeed the best way. You still have some time before making a decision. Before that, you can focus on your strengths and future, continued Qiujin. The next generation's battle? No, the one after that. What do you mean? Most of the factions of the world have unofficially designated the next battle to the Tao opening sect. Them? What? Wang W. I mean, the Heavenly Emperor should ascend by then. Lin Fan paused as he remembered something. Wang Tian? Yes, it should belong to him. What? From what I remember, although he was talented, it was not to the level that everyone needs to make way for him. Qiujin gave him an odd look. Didn't the headmaster mention the ultimate swordsmanship battle? She did, but only briefly. In that fight, Wang Tian displayed strength and potential, not weaker than the best of this generation, and that's before he had such a powerful son to help him train. Of course, this is not the real reason these factions have given up on the next generation's battle. Do they fear the Heavenly Emperor will kill the next emperor if it's not his father? Asked Lin Fan. Exactly. Even if he ascends, leaving some methods to eliminate the next emperor should be no problem. As such, most factions have given up on the next battle. Some even have given up on the one after that to consider his mother and the Yu clan. Lin Fan groaned, the world has become 100 times more complicated since I died. Yes, and it will continue to become more complex, warned Qiujin. So, you must change and adapt as soon as possible. Lin Fan sipped his tea before exhaling. What's the plan? The dream world is a prelude to a heaven-chosen battle with members from across the entire lower dimension. The main plan is for you to participate in this battle and get a top 10 position, even the first. With so much destiny and luck, you can seal yourself and wake up in the 4th generation. Lin Fan nodded. With his wife he won't have to worry about karma. As for the seal, since he does not have to wash away his karma, the process was similar to taking a long nap. Besides the heavenly court, it's one of the few places he wanted to visit the most. He wanted to experience a few things for himself before he could truly understand and process them. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Su Shi pondered briefly. You've had your existence erased, so after you refine the primordial qi and increase your talent, there is a high probability of walking the unorthodox way. However, if you want to succeed in the final fusion of 9, its remedy, you must work on one of your major weaknesses, Dao Heart. As long as I have hope, it's worth trying no matter how difficult it will be. It's a good mindset to have, nodded Su Shi. Rest for a few days and then we can begin. Lin Fan was excited. Although he wished to start immediately, he knew he was not in the best shape for cultivation. So, starting a few days later was the optimal choice. He then looked at her, his face a little more reserved. What about us? Have you made a decision? No, but I was thinking that Xan should be able to help our situation. Su Shi nodded. Even if you didn't bring it up, I would have. She has a special couple session to help Dao companions with issues. It would greatly help our situation. Good. His greatest worry is she would not be willing to work on their issues. Now that she agreed, he felt relieved. Lin Fan chatted with her for a few minutes before leaving. He had a long journey ahead of him and needed to prepare. Dream World. Wang Wei walked out of the battle tower feeling refreshed for a long while. After this long battle, he finally knew the limits of his fleshly body and could use it to a 1000%. He discovered it from the dream world and opened his eyes in the court. He immediately frowned as he checked things. It's been a year and there has been no response from Emperor Kong? Did something happen or is he just busy? Wang Wei's finger tapped on his throne as he pondered. I've given him another 4 years before I use Plan B. Plan B was risky since it was based on his deduction and analysis and had no tangible basis. Things could escalate out of control if he is not prepared. Wang Wei closed his eyes, and a mysterious aura enveloped his body. More than half an hour later, he exhaled out loud as he returned to normal. True heavenly Dao was more accommodating than I anticipated. With the latter's help, he could traffic these people to the upper dimension without worrying about supreme unities secretly influencing the lower dimension. He smiled as he looked in the distance. Profiteering during war is truly the best way to make money, he thought. However, I should be careful. Wang Wei decided to reinforce the seal in the nether hell after sending these people to the upper dimension to prevent any variable from supreme unity. Furthermore, if his fate shadow guy can identify the spies, this might be an opportunity to deal them a significant blow. Is Tong Ruobing about to make her move? Muttered Wang Wei as he saw the future of the world. It's a shame I cannot sell her. After shaking his head, he headed to a particular room in his cultivation place. After the battle with Jianghu, Wang Wei had an idea for a fleshly body cultivation room. In the early stages he could use gravity to temper his body. However, at some point no amount of gravity had any effect on him, even if they were quintillion times that of the average gravity on Earth. Only gravity that reaches a conceptual level can have an effect, and such a thing was not easy to establish with his current professional Grand Dao source. Luckily, the Immortal Sovereign showed him another way: energy dominance. As Wang Wei walked into the room, his body felt a heavy pressure. So, it did work, he thought. This room was full of energy as he had one of his clones open a large tear to the source chi space. The energy intensity of the room was so high that even his current body was affected. Extreme training in such a room should increase my strength by a few infant fiend god force. And if I take Jin Chaos Dragon Binding Grass that I raised to Emperor tier, the effect should be better. Wang Wei did not hesitate. He first left all his power using the Golden Fur Monkey technique from his Myriad Spirit Manifestation. The Golden Fur Monkey was an innate demon with the ability to turn the furs on his body into powerful clones, just like Sun Wukong in Wang Wei's previous life. So, he created this technique based on that creature in the previous rat zodiac. With the new clone, Wang Wei had no problem weakening himself for training, so he ingested the poison. As he felt his body drastically weakened, the effect of the qi in the surroundings increased. Wang Wei immediately began to do basic things like push-up, but he did not stop after doing more than 1 trillion of them. The process was not as easy as it sounded. His weakened body was like a malnourished individual exercising under the pressure of 10 times gravity. However, Wang Wei did not stop as he continued doing push-up without his shirt on. It had been a long time since he could increase his strength by doing simple and mundane training methods, so he enjoyed himself. This dragon binding grass is truly a marvelous spiritual herb for body refiners, thought Wang Wei. After being nourished by the Grand Dao source, the herb mutated and became the nemesis of the very concept of essence in the 3 flowers. In other words, anyone with sufficient body strength will be affected if they have not opened the gate of power. However, the wonder of this grass was not as simple as it seems. The Emperor Tier Dragon Binding Grass was in perfect harmony with Yin and Yang. As such, it will drastically weaken body refiners, but it's also the perfect material to help them temper their bodies as they train and build immunity. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Phantom Sword Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.